The alley late at night echoed with wails. Bang! He had been beaten all over his body. He only remembered speaking a few words of justice for a pretty lady just now. And then he found himself floating in the air. What's wrong with myself? He finally got admitted to graduate school after much effort. He hadn't had the chance to repay his parents. He didn't even have the opportunity to fall in love before being knocked unconscious. He should have exercised more if he had known earlier. It's really embarrassing to die like this. Suddenly, under his own gaze, his body began to move. His eyes sharpened and became piercing. He was still wondering who was controlling his body. An energy sucked away his soul. He opened his eyes again until he vanished. He felt a bit at a loss when facing the pitch-black environment. After some fumbling around, he accidentally fell to the ground. At the same time, he also stumbled over a night pearl. With a light, he looked at his body inside. What's this? Why so big? Just then, there happened to be a mirror next to him, and he turned his head to look at it. Oh my goodness! He exclaimed in surprise. Just that one sound caught the attention of the maidservant outside the door. A maidservant said, "The Saintess has been in seclusion for a long time." I heard noises inside the room and thought the Saintess had come out. Another maidservant took over and said, "Her Highness is currently breaking through the void refinement stage. Neither of us can disturb her." I looked at the reflection of myself in the mirror and said puzzledly, "Void refinement stage? What is that? Is this the immortal cultivation world?" Saintess? I came to my senses and held my cheeks in astonishment. I stayed calm for the whole night. Lin Fan sat on the ground to keep himself calm. He brainstormed many ideas about surviving in the immortal cultivation world. Since they have all crossed over, shouldn't there be a system in most novels? Then he waved his big hand. The system is activated, but it is silent. He doesn't even know what name this body is called. He has neither the system nor the memories of the previous owner. The only information he has is that the identity of this body is a Saintess from the Saintess sect, with attendants. In any case, the status must be very high. He will first tidy up his appearance before investigating further for information. As expected, his hair was tangled up. No matter how he combed it with those clumsy hands, it just would not look neat. Half an hour later, Lin Fan, who had fixed his hair, realized that his physical appearance was indeed very attractive. The next step is the expression aspect. Is it innocent type? Or alluring type? Or aloof type? However, since it is Saintess, the last one is the most suitable. His current expression, combined with not breaking through after a month of seclusion, is very suitable. It would be perfectly reasonable for him to discipline his subordinates when he goes out later. However, this expression always feels somewhat familiar. Didn't it appear on his own body before? Forget it, I don't want to think about it anymore. Intelligence is still important. He arrived at the door, intending to act low-key. But with a gentle touch, he smashed the door to pieces. Two maids were also frightened by his actions. One of the maids guessed that he encountered a problem in his breakthrough. At this moment, Lin Fan was also shocked by the power of pushing the door himself. He silently reminded himself not to panic, as he was the Saintess. He awkwardly cleared his throat. He asked them how long they had been in seclusion. He also inquired about any recent events that had taken place here. He listened to their answers. More confused than ever, he only knew that this place was called Eastern Desolation. He himself was a Saintess, and his sect was called Sacred Land. Oh, this Sacred Land sounds prestigious at first listen. Besides myself, the Saintess, there is also a saint, who has already broken through the void refinement stage. Rumors say that the battle for the first sequence will take place 1 year from now. The win rate of Saintess is very low. She was interrupted by another maid before she finished speaking. The other maid gestured for her not to speak nonsense. After that, she then praised Lin Fan. The Saintess is the strongest, the best, the most awesome. At this moment, Lin Fan's state was low. because 1 year later, this body will have to compete with Saint for the first sequence. The true Saintess in this city is feeling a long-lost pain. She is still questioning where the pain is coming from. A few hoodlums nearby are shouting, "Let's beat him up together, brothers!" Without surprise, they were all stepped on by her. The Saintess speculated that she might have failed in her breakthrough. This is when a girl, who was being bullied by hoodlums in the inner demon realm, took the opportunity to call the police, waited for the police to arrive, and recounted the process of the incident. The police were also confused when they arrived. Does mobbing a person mean one person mobbing all of them? On the main road, Saintess looked at the traffic disrupted by her. She only realized that this place was not like the inner demon illusory realm when she looked at the onlookers. She felt more like she had possessed this body herself. As the esteemed Violet Palace Saintess, she inexplicably ended up here, and even transformed into a man. Could this be the punishment for a failed breakthrough by force? Within the immortal cultivation sect, Lin Fan relied on the identity of the Saintess with this body. Lin Fan feasted and drank lavishly here. He looked at the beautiful scenery of the mountains and rivers here, feeling extremely comfortable. And the female lead, Chi Amethyst, is very disgusted with this mortal body. This body lacks true essence, cannot practice Bigu, which is immediate cultivation. She angrily pounded her own body, angry that she had come to this world without spiritual power. Suddenly, a fragrance wafted over. Chi Amethyst suddenly looked towards the opposite steamed bun shop. She exclaimed, "Are mortals' food so fragrant?" She pondered that at this point, the best way to replenish energy was to eat. But she didn't have any money herself. Coincidentally, the owner of the steamed bun shop called out, "Hey handsome, come and have a taste. My family's buns are not delicious, so you don't have to pay." Chi Amethyst was surprised to hear this. She quickly asked, "Is it true?" The boss instantly felt that this person was not normal, and casually replied, "Yes, it's true." Chi Amethyst immediately picked up the bun and started nibbling on it. She felt the delicious taste of food from the mortal world. The boss was still boasting about himself behind her back. Chi Amethyst turned around, two teary eyes saying it's not tasty. The boss can't be relied on the other hand. The police officers, who worked on the case, just finished their work yesterday. They were about to go buy breakfast to eat. Even the police officers, who checked the surveillance footage overnight, sighed at how skilled Chi Amethyst, who took over Lin Fan's body, was. But why did he keep getting beaten up earlier? The two of them joked that this was the time for accumulating anger. The steamed bun shop is already surrounded by people, and there's no way out. The police comrades hurried forward to check. It turned out to be the kid who got beaten up yesterday. At this moment, he was holding several baskets of steamed buns, jumping up and down. He was muttering that it was your own fault for saying they weren't delicious, and not wanting to pay. A police officer shouted, "It's you? The kid who knocked down those 3 men last night." Chi Amethyst realized that they are the bailiffs of this world. This is troublesome. It seems they should have cleaned up those 3 guys before leaving. The owner of the Bowsy shop thought he was here to help. She grabbed the policeman's hand and cried out, "This guy ate Bowsy without paying. He even said that the Bowsy in my shop tastes bad and stuff like that." Suddenly, Chi Amethyst's feet were nimble. She hopped away from the scene by stepping on the faces of passers-by. The police comrades were excited about this. It's rare to see someone with such good skills. Within the Violet Palace sacred land, 2 maids were discussing that the Saintess has been unable to make a breakthrough for a couple of months. She must be under a lot of pressure. We must not provoke her, otherwise, it could lead to big trouble. With a bang, Lin Fan pushed open the door and said to the maids, "I want to take a bath," which surprised the maids. The maids then confirmed again that yes, he wanted to take a bath. Lin Fan lay in the bathtub with a splash, exclaiming how refreshing it was. He looked at his chest as if he had discovered a new continent. It turns out that these hills really do float. On Earth, Chi Amethyst is still on the run. These two bailiffs have been chasing her for a whole day. Although she could take them down, she feels that there is something threatening about them. It's better to be cautious. The police officers chasing behind kept exclaiming, "Is this kid even human? I've never seen someone run so fast. And he was even eating while running. It's too insulting." Chi Amethyst looked down disdainfully at the two chasing after her. She was not an ordinary person like them. Suddenly, her soul trembled, and a buzzing sound rang in her ears. Lin Fan was shocked when he saw the figure floating in front of his chest. He blacked out and returned to his own body. Just as he was rubbing his eyes and saying how big and white it was, Lin Fan suddenly stopped in surprise. "Ah, why is it a bun?" He was handcuffed before he could react. Desperate Lin Fan was locked up in prison like this. At this moment, Chi Amethyst returned to her own body. She looked confusedly at herself, who was taking a bath. Still the bald herself. She instantly saw herself in that man's body. And the man came to her body. She thought about him bathing with her body. Uncontrollable killing intent, directly shaking and bursting the bathtub. This killing intent surged out and broke through the entire mountain peak. The entire sacred land is bustling with extraordinary excitement. A true immortal looked at this scene inside. This child actually got angry. Perhaps this is not a bad start. The other men playing chess together just said, "Boring." Perhaps this sacred land is about to become lively, beyond the mountains. The disciples sense the aura of the Saintess and say, "The Saintess cultivates the purple chi from Yi's technique, pursuing a flawless and pure heart." However, this overwhelming killing intent. At this moment, a disciple turned to the eldest senior sister at the Violet Palace and said, "This is a perfect opportunity to seize the position of the Saintess." The eldest senior sister said firmly, "The most important thing is whether Amethyst's junior sister is safe." She nodded, but a strange smile appeared on her face. Different from the others. Violet Palace fortune teller just feels noisy. Fong Wu may not have seen the anger erupting, but he seemed to have seen everything. Dan Shinzi, the chief disciple of Dan Refining, has been here for 2 months. He has not come out yet, but he can feel the surging anger. Dan Shinzi from the Violet Palace Dan sect laughed out loud. Hee, the revival of Dan's sect is just around the corner. At this moment, Saintess-She Amethyst sincerely shouted out her best wishes. "Scoundrel! I'm not done with you." The camera shifted. Lin Fan, who was played into the police station by the Saintess, is currently being questioned. Gender, age, occupation, residential address. The police officer professionally asked him if he knew why he was here. He himself was very embarrassed and asked himself what he had done. The person asking thought Lin Fan was drunk. He then pulled out his phone to play a video, showing Lin Fan his performance record. Lin Fan in the video was constantly being beaten up. Then he single-handedly took down the other 3 with punches and kicks. He also has other brilliant achievements. You stole the steamed buns without paying and even attacked the police officer on the side. Everyone was shocked to see this. Lin Fan was stunned too. Stealing steamed buns and attacking the police? Is this self-made? No, this must be the work of that Saintess, Chi Amethyst, for sure. This is too tricky. How long am I going to stay in there for her series of actions? Listening to the police's questions, Lin Fan fell into deep thought. How should I respond? To say it was done by the Saintess of the immortal cultivation world. If I say that, I'll be treated as mentally ill and locked up. No choice. Lin Fan had to admit his actions. I admit that I got drunk and high. Fortunately, the police comrade's mindset is not so narrow. Just got stepped on, that's it. Lin Fan is still worrying about whether he'll end up in prison. But the police said, "We were originally going to verify and reward you for your act of bravery. We didn't expect you to snatch the buns and step on my head. So I just arrested you." Upon hearing this, Lin Fan stood up excitedly. I will definitely apologize to the shop owner for the bun incident. But the police said someone has already compensated for you. The stall owner is very satisfied and will not pursue the matter any further. Lin Fan was puzzled, asking, "Who was it?" The police said it was the girl you bravely rescued who compensated for you. Lin Fan looked puzzled upon hearing this. Later, Lin Fan signed and left. Lin Fan, who was asked to leave the office, walked confusedly in the corridor. He walked out of the police station in confusion. Is my immortal cultivation journey over just like this? Lin Fan, who was in confusion, heard a sweet voice calling out, "Brother! You finally came out. I'd been waiting to thank you in person." Lin Fan turned his head, all his attention on the beautiful girl in that Porsche 911. Jo Nana is a few years older than Lin Fan. Therefore, she asked Lin Fan to call her sister Nana. Afterwards, she asked Lin Fan for his address and invited him to get into her car. Coincidentally, Jo Nana's younger brother is in the same college as Lin Fan. However, her brother moved out because the dormitory was too rundown. Lin Fan also agreed that it was indeed the case. If the rent wasn't too expensive, he would have moved out himself. Upon hearing this, Jo Nana said she has a few buildings that she can rent to Lin Fan at a lower price as a token of gratitude. Upon hearing this, Lin Fan was stunned. Several buildings? This is a real wealthy woman. But he still had a buddy who was studying with him. Lin Fan tearfully refused out of loyalty. Although he really wanted to accept, the beneficiary of this kindness was not himself. Jo Nana praised Lin Fan for being so loyal and said, "Whenever you want to find a place, just contact me directly." After bidding farewell to Jo Nana, Lin Fan was thinking that he had been nice enough to Wang Dong, practically being like his adoptive parents. In the past, Wang Dong had said to him, "Since neither of us has a girlfriend, we are brothers from different parents." And now everything he has done is totally saintly. He even gave up the chance to be a kept man. When Lin Fan returned to the dormitory, his habitual phrase was just, "Brothers from different parents." But at this moment, Lin Fan couldn't believe his eyes. His half-brother actually brought his girlfriend to the dormitory and even planned to kiss. This blow instantly petrified him on the spot. His roommate's words were sharp as a knife. He thought Lin Fan had fled after causing trouble. His bedsheets had just been washed. Therefore, he would use your bed. After all, we are like brothers. You won't mind, right? Don't let the counselor find out. Also, make Lin Fan spend 2 nights at the internet cafe as punishment. Wang Dong also told him to eat whatever he wanted, and he would reimburse him later. Then Lin Fan was pushed out of the room. Lin Fan remained petrified throughout the entire process without saying a word. Meanwhile, his roommate Wang Dong continued to be affectionate with his girlfriend in the room. Lin Fan cursed at him in his heart and made up his mind to move out of this painful place. The scene changed from night to day. Chi Amethyst's anger continued to erupt. She thought about Lin Fan using her body to take a shower. She was trembling with anger, but then she thought, what she feared most was being mentally unstable. So she could only bite her lip in secret. I must calm down now. Although I don't know why our spiritual souls swapped. If it happened once, that's okay, but if it happens again. But now I can't report to the master. And I have made an agreement with the saint. If I report it, won't that show weakness? This won't do. We must find a solution. Then she took out a sacred soul stone to make preparations. She planned to leave an image in advance. She wanted to record her identity and information. This way, she could restrain that rude and unreasonable brute. However, she felt that after this exchange, the spiritual power was running more smoothly than before. She was even a little curious about what he had done with her body. On this side of the earth, Lin Fan is following the wealthy lady Jo Nana to the residential area. The two arrived in front of a single-story building. Sister Nana said, "Here is a 1-bedroom apartment with all the furniture and appliances included. She took out a key and turned it. Oh, it seems like this is not the right one. Let me try another key. It doesn't seem to be this one either. How strange. After apologizing to Lin Fan, she took out the key again. This time, what she took out made Lin Fan wide-eyed in amazement. He looked at this long string of keys. However, the wealthy lady Zhou Nana said that having too many keys was too annoying. Lin Fan was very willing to share this kind of annoyance for her in his heart. Later, the wealthy lady threw the key ring to Lin Fan and asked him to help hold it for a moment. He instantly felt really heavy. Could this be the feeling of having wealth in hand? Zhou Nana playfully stuck out her tongue and said, "Look at my memory. That was actually the key ring from the neighboring building." This is such a humble brag. He feels the heavy weight of Zhou Nana's wealth symbol. Lin Fan had only this expression on her face when she opened the door to the room. Lin Fan was also dumbfounded when she saw this room. This is really great. Everything is complete. He can just move in with his bag. Enter the house. Lin Fan looked around and felt that everything was really great. Then, he was extremely satisfied and handed over the QR code with both hands. He wanted to transfer money on the spot. The wealthy lady Zhou Nana skillfully took out a POS machine and said, "How did you manage to break your phone? You are too frugal. The screen is all cracked." Lin Fan also noticed that his phone screen was broken. He vaguely remembered it happened when he got beaten up. Oh no, it was when Saintess beat up those thugs. It's alright, the phone can still be used. After listening to this, Zhou Nana fell silent for a moment, then bid farewell when leaving. Zhou Nana said she usually lives in the building opposite. If there's anything, you can go directly to her. Lin Fan decided on the spot to move over in the afternoon. He couldn't help but feel that wealth is truly wealth, owning even the building opposite. Now he finally has his own nest, no longer afraid of being in someone else's territory. At this moment, what he most wants to know is, will he still cross over? On this side of the dorm, Wang Dong is hugging his girlfriend and playing on the computer. Lin Fan ignores him and starts packing up his own things. He leaves without saying a word. Returning to the new home at night, he can't help but feel how comfortable the place is, and then busies himself with some work. He found a phone box on his desk. There was also a thank you note. This is the phone Zhou Nana sent to thank Lin Fan for helping out of the predicament. Although I feel unworthy, I also need it. Zhou Nana is really nice. We should get along well in the future. He tidied up the room, cooked instant noodles, but Lin Fan still wants to have a big meal to celebrate. Unfortunately, he is poor and still has to save money. Later, he took out the phone given by Zhou Nana, activated it, and connected to the internet. All the smart home devices in the house were also connected. The sound effects of the smart prompts were so realistic. This really made Lin Fan marvel at the power of technology. Lin Fan, eating instant noodles, is watching the drama Immortal Cultivation. He was thinking about how cool it would be if he could time travel again. He could come back with a cultivation method or something like that. Wouldn't that be awesome? As soon as he finished speaking, his body emitted a burst of colorful light. Chi Amethyst thought to himself, luckily he had made preparations in advance. That guy surely wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Then she looked at the instant noodles in her hand. She looked confused, unable to resist taking a bite. A phrase of, "smells delicious," spread throughout the entire community. Lin Fan, who looks confused, is staring at the furniture around him in Violet Palace. He suddenly cheered, "I'm back again!" Then a voice came from behind him. A person exactly like him stood behind him and said, "You are rude, vulgar, despicable, shameless, and barbaric. Listen carefully. I am the owner of this body, Chi Amethyst. If you see this message, it means we have once again exchanged spiritual souls. In order not to be heard by outsiders, a soundproofing barrier has been set up in this room. Although the message keeps talking, this holographic-like thing piqued Lin Fan's curiosity. She also requires Lin Fan to follow the following rules. Otherwise, you will get into trouble, humph. Lin Fan doesn't fall for this. I have been fooled by you quite a bit, and you want to establish your authority over me? I haven't settled the score with you yet. Besides, we both know each other's secrets. What can you do? But leaving a mark with a single sentence, I can turn you into a eunuch. This instantly dispelled Lin Fan's arrogance. Leaving a mark, continue to say that she was originally a woman controlling men. But it will be much easier after becoming a eunuch. Sure enough, this paragraph scared Lin Fan a lot. He felt that something was wrong from the first rule. And then the video kept talking about Rule 39. Lin Fan felt tired of listening. The host felt that it was just like the viewers' wives explaining things. It's taking forever to get to the point. Then he slapped his own cheek. He tried to wake himself up a bit, since he had traveled through time this time too. He is preparing for future time travels. He regretted not bringing back the cultivation method to practice last time. This time he can't miss it, arriving in front of the image. He carefully observed the original owner's expression. After achieving a 100% synchronization, he adjusted himself and then gave himself some psychological comfort. As long as he didn't cause any trouble, he should not castrate me. However, since he has come here, how can he return empty-handed? He walked out of the room directly and inquired about the news from the maids. The maids revealed every detail of the library to him. When the maids heard that the Saintess was going to the library, they were extremely surprised. However, despite their astonishment, they exchanged glances, bowed, and arranged for transportation to prepare for departure. There was no way they would dare not to listen to the Saintess. The maids arrived at the edge of the cliff. They grabbed a leaf, flicked it, and it instantly transformed into a golden arc. Wow! Is this the transportation of the immortal cultivator? So cool and dazzling. They just didn't know if the pushing force of this leaf would be particularly strong. With a shout from the maids, the speed was so fast that only a lingering afterimage was left behind. Lin Fan exclaimed in excitement. So fast! So thrilling! Meanwhile, the instant noodles that Lin Fan hadn't had a chance to eat were gobbled up by Chi Amethyst. She also casually complained about the thin spiritual power here. But surprisingly, the food was very distinctive. She didn't forget to comment on the TV shows here. This kind of photo-taking spiritual artifact is indeed extraordinary. However, the cultivators in TV dramas only have the low-level cultivation in her world. I thought this was just a world with depleted spiritual power. A world where the path to immortality is hopeless. But looking at this photo, there seems to be some hope. I just don't know where Long Tiger Mountain is located. Just as these words were spoken, she triggered the voice intelligence system. iPair immediately found the specific coordinates of Long Tiger Mountain. Then it also detailed the introduction. She listened to the introduction of iPair. Chi Amethyst, surprised, asked, "Who?" iPair also responded, "Hello. Lin Fan, I am your life assistant." Chi Amethyst mocked, "This name is indeed as mediocre as this body." She looked at this phone, which she mistook for an artifact spirit. She felt that the world suddenly became interesting. Chi Amethyst curiously asked how to get to Long Tiger Mountain, thinking that the answer to the differences between this world and her world might be hidden in the polite inquiry about the mode of transportation to Long Tiger Mountain by plane or by train. The vocabulary that poses no problem to ordinary people holds a different picture in the mind of Chi Amethyst. She envisions only flying chickens and flaming horse-drawn carriages. She marvels at how this world is truly becoming more interesting. She responds that she will walk there. iPair also plans a walking route for her. If she walks, it will take about 40 days to reach her destination. 40 days sure are a drag. Looking at the situation where the soul changes every few days. She can't even make it there without sleeping, let alone if the original body's owner doesn't cooperate. In that case, it's not realistic for her to travel so far using this body. Suddenly, Chi Amethyst heard a word reported by iPair. She also thought that Buddha's temptation would be a paradise. I didn't expect it was just a dish of southern Fujian cuisine with a grandiose name. If her Buddhist sect in that world knew about it. Ipair is still broadcasting the recipe for this dish. A series of ingredients added with broth and aged wine, stewed over low heat to make it. Chi Amethyst couldn't help but salivate at the sound of it. She pouted and said, "I want to eat this." The intelligence system immediately responded. "Takeout has been ordered. All you need to do is pay." "Like this?" She looked at the finger-like icon on the screen. Chi Amethyst tapped on it. Ding. "Payment successful. Please continue to order takeout." There are many foods here that she has never heard of. She wants to try them all. In a little while, she placed 20 orders. Someone's wallet is in for a hard time. Because the purchase was declined again. It looks like Lin Fan has run out of balance. The takeout expert was ultimately defeated by the balance in the card. Ipair automatically played a prompt. Enjoy life while you can. Don't be stingy in loving yourself. In that moment, she felt a warmth like never before. She recalled her life. Gifted since childhood, she wholeheartedly cultivated after being brought into Violet Palace. There are those who admire and revere her, but there are even more who envy and oppose her. Even her benevolent master only gives strict discipline. Seldom are there such warm words. Chi Amethyst picked up her phone and said affectionately, "Ipair." "Thank you," the phone replied too. "I am very happy to be able to help you. Please feel free to chat with me more in the future." Chi Amethyst started to explore this world in this way. She made Ipair begin with this dormitory-like magical treasure. Are trains and planes also means of transportation for mortals? When she wants to continue chatting with Ipair. Mobile phone prompts low battery. And the way to replenish is by charging. After hearing this, Chi Amethyst couldn't sit still at all. "Ipair, please speak up quickly, Ipair." At this time, there is someone warmly greeting. "I see you're turning into a lunatic." Chi Amethyst looked up to express her gratitude. She glanced at the person in front of her and felt a hint of familiarity. The person introduced himself again. "I'm the police officer who caught you last time. My name is Wu Guodong." It seems that after the soul transmigration, that Lin Fan was indeed caught. Wu Guodong looked at Chi Amethyst warily. He said he just happened to come over to investigate a case and took the opportunity to pay a visit. "Just look for me." In the world of immortal cultivation, Lin Fan is also not idle. On his way to the scripture pavilion, he heard many rumors. All were talking about breakthrough failures, demonic possession, and the like. But Lin Fan didn't care about these at all. His most pressing matter now is to get his hands on a few cultivation methods secret manuals that he can understand and memorize. All he needs is to master a move or two, and he will be able to walk sideways on Earth. By then, he will be the first immortal cultivator on Earth. Thinking of this, he is so excited that he almost bursts out laughing. But in order to maintain the prestigious image of a saintess, he can only hold back his excitement. A saintess must be elegant. Shortly after, he arrived in front of a small dilapidated house. Lin Fan thought that a normal scripture repository must be very majestic. Most likely behind the broken house, he focused his eyes and took a look. The sign on the broken house reads, "Scripture Repository." Oh boy, this is too simple. The statue at the door is the same as the stone lions at the entrance of a restaurant. He suddenly realized that this could be a mortal cultivation world, maybe some kind of immortal being. He respectfully completed his luggage and continued on his way towards his secret manual. At this moment, the stone statue emitted a sinister voice. It is interesting that a little girl with that cultivation level and soul consciousness still cannot detect our presence. Lin Fan, who entered the scripture pavilion, was so surprised that he couldn't even close his mouth. The small broken house outside. After coming in, it's unexpectedly several floors up and down. Could this be the legendary dimensional pocket? But such a large scripture library. Where should I start looking? A voice calling, "Junior sister," came, causing Lin Fan to turn around in confusion. That was the eldest senior sister from the Violet Palace, she said in surprise. Junior sister, is it really you? Lin Fan broke out in a cold sweat. Could it be that he would bump into an acquaintance so soon? What bad luck. How should he act? The eldest senior sister Yukiana appeared very concerned about Amethyst's condition. She has grown stronger again, actually able to conceal herself like an ordinary person. While Lin Fan thought to himself, her attitude is so good. She probably has a good relationship with the original host. And she even called her junior sister, so they must have a close relationship. Then she said, Senior sister, I happen to have something to ask for advice. What is it? Ask for advice? She called me senior sister? Am I taking advantage of her? This woman is clearly trying to humiliate me for entering the door earlier than her, but not being as good as her. Lin Fan said, according to what you see, the scriptures of the lower and upper levels. Which level is more precious? Yukiana looked confused by this question. Junior sister, what do you mean by this? Of course, the upper level is more precious. Lin Fan replied happily. Is that so? Is that what you think? She politely thanked senior sister, and then hurried straight to the 7th level. The Yukiana stood frozen in place at the sound of, Thank you. Today is really unusual. She actually said thank you too. Lin Fan, walking on the stairs, felt that this setting was very much in line with immortal cultivation novels. The foundation of the lower level. The higher you go, the fewer people there are. She reached the 7th floor and pushed open the door. This mysterious and fantastical feeling is like an endless sea. Countless crystals float around. Is this the legendary jade slip, where I can see its contents by infusing true essence into it, for example? Wait, infusing true essence and all that, I have no idea. Goodbye. So he had to start searching from downstairs. After reading it, Lin Fan was even more confused. The starting point of these books is too high. Always teaching people about transformation and artifact forging. The lowest requirement is to cultivate in a spiritual vein treasure land. If I go back to my own world, where can I find a spiritual vein treasure land? At this moment, the people on the 1st floor are discussing one after another. How could the prestigious Saintess come to the 1st floor and flip through books one by one? Subsequently, their conclusion was that a powerful cultivation method had been left behind here. Yukiana heard this and found some truth in it. She recalled the words that were just spoken and mentally visualized Lin Fan's expression. I must take down this sacred art by myself. Lin Fan over here is still reading those strange cultivation methods like Chrysanthemum Acupoint Strike the Butt Lift Technique and Youth Cultivation Manual 5 years Foundation Establishment and 3 years Simulation. What are all these? Have they read too many novels? Don't get caught up in the trend blindly. Sacred art is still worldly. I just want to find a book that can be used on Earth. But there are no practical books available. Even the recipes use Millennium Ginseng as a base ingredient. How can I show off when I go back to Earth? In the Violet Palace, a servant hurriedly reported an urgent matter to Saint, but he was stopped by a steward at the door. The servant was afraid that if Saintess obtained the mysterious book, it might affect the battle for the first sequence, but the steward thought these things were insignificant. Saint was already invincible. At this moment, Saint walked out of the room. Disdainfully he asked, Are you saying Saintess is in the scripture pavilion? The hastily arriving disciple immediately knelt down and reported. He heard that the Saintess just came out from the 7th floor. Then she started to read through the books one by one starting from the 3rd floor. Saint sneered and said, The 1st floor, huh? He recalled what Master had said before. Amethyst's emergence this time may not have led to a breakthrough in strength, but it has reached a new realm. You must keep working hard. The winner between them in the battle for the sequence a year later remains to be seen. Saint thinks that the scripture repository is no longer helpful to either side. Could it be that she has new insights this time? He then waved his big hand and prepared the boat. Depart for the scripture repository. At this time, There was a sea of people at the entrance of the scripture repository. Lin Fan exerted an enormous amount of effort to squeeze his way out. He looked at the crowded entrance of the Tibetan scripture pavilion. Lin Fan was delighted. Junior brothers and sisters, I'm sorry. Please continue looking. Fortunately, he finally found a usable one. It's a martial arts book for mortal beings in the mundane world, which immortal cultivation people disdain. This is perfect for me, a mundane person on earth. Good. With a loud paw, Lin Fan seemed to have bumped into someone. Only hearing the white-haired man across them give a light cough. Lin Fan slightly apologetically said, "Sorry." "Are you okay?" He hadn't finished speaking yet, when Saint took the initiative to challenge. "You've been in seclusion for a long time. Your arrogant attitude has indeed improved a lot." "Huh? No way. How did you run into yet another acquaintance? Is the immortal cultivation world that small?" The man with white hair didn't wait for Lin Fan to respond. He raised his hand and gathered light. He shouted that he wanted to test Lin Fan's current level. Then he directly exploded his chi. A dazzling light shone through the door of the scripture pavilion. Yukiana and the disciples all sensed the aura of the saint. They speculated that the saint or saintess might be in a conflict because of the sacred book. Hey, it's going to be interesting to watch. Lin Fan outside the door feels very confused. Who the heck is this, always exploding with anger at the drop of a hat? Just slapped him once. Isn't it too much to kill me? I don't know how to fight. Looking at the disheveled Saint, Lin Fan sneered and said, "No. Out. Sick." Although I didn't understand, I felt a very powerful aura. Everyone in the scripture pavilion burst into laughter upon seeing this scene. They would love to place bets on the spot to see who wins or loses. Yukiana looked at the two of them with a sinister gaze. She sneered to herself, "Fight all you want, the fiercer the better. These two are just lucky. Once I obtain the position of the Saintess, all these so-called saints will be at my feet." On Lin Fan's side, Saint openly insults the inner disciples, saying they are all insignificant ants. Walking alongside these people, no wonder you can't make any progress. After speaking, he glances contemptuously at the disciples behind him. Incompetent people. The expressions of the inner disciples are all like that of Yukiana. Clearly furious, but they dare not erupt. "You scoundrel, you are nothing but a good-for-nothing." Stimulated by Lin Fan's outburst, Chi also exploded immediately. This terrifying aura instantly overshadowed Saint's golden light. Saint said in surprise, "How dare you defy me?" But in his heart, he was somewhat fearful. This aura was already showing signs of being able to rival mine. Lin Fan here is relentless in seeking justice. He described Saint's recent violent act. Clearly, it was just a minor collision, but Saint is bullying people like this. At this moment, Saint noticed the book in Lin Fan's hand. He had a suspicion that it might be because of this book. So he waved his hand and continued to unleash his chi. Lin Fan was shaken by this pressure and quickly retreated. He finally managed to stabilize his footing. Lin Fan thought it was close earlier. It's a good thing that my body automatically unleashed chi. I can't afford to reveal any flaws. Although I can't beat the guy, I can't afford to lose face for the Saintess. He was thinking anxiously, and he thought of a solution. I saw Lin Fan brushing past Saint and walking straight out. "What's going on?" Saint turned around and questioned Lin Fan. "Are you trying to escape?" Lin Fan, possessed by the Virgin Mary, immediately started to argue. This scripture repository is a treasury of books, a hall of knowledge. How many fellow practitioners have come here after going through hardships, just for the chance to learn more knowledge, to gain the opportunity to change their destiny? And you, causing trouble and stirring up trouble in such a sacred place. Is this your hobby? Treading upon what others hold dear? Have you ever thought about the feelings of those fellow practitioners whom you have disturbed? No, you haven't. You only care about yourself. He feels great standing on the moral high ground and pointing fingers. This has garnered applause from the onlookers. He directly grasped the technique of winning public opinion. I thought I had already won this round. But Saint pulled out the trump card and made a threat. You speak without restraint. Have you ever considered the face of the Qinyuan family? I advise you not to be too arrogant before getting married. Oh my, what's going on? Does Chi Amethyst really have an engagement? Upon hearing this, Lin Fan was sweating profusely, and quickly left this place of controversy. Next time, he must clarify the matter of the engagement. However, Lin Fan still feels confused up to now. Who was that person just now? Nevertheless, his quick reaction was handled appropriately without losing face. He returned to the Arkansas. The two lovely maids greeted Lin Fan, saying things like, "Welcome back," and "You're amazing." Paired with their silly expressions, Lin Fan felt even more flustered. They're too cute. The maids continued. Madame Saintess just now really showed off her awe-inspiring grace against Saint. 1 year from now, in the battle for the first sequence, you will definitely emerge victorious. Hee. Listening to the maid boast, Lin Fan was just about to keep a low profile. Suddenly realized. Who did you say I defeated? The maid gestured and danced while talking about the usual deeds of Saint and Saintess, and so on. At this point, Lin Fan has entered a crash state. Was the dead fish eyes just now Chi Amethyst's fiancé? I'm in big trouble. I'm in big trouble. Before exchanging bodies with Immortal Cultivator, be sure to modify your payment password. Otherwise, the curious immortal being may use up all your credits ordering takeout. Groups of delivery drivers head towards Lin Fan's new home. The delivery guy in the blue shirt with a little duck on it asked professionally for a good review. Although Chi Amethyst didn't quite understand, she seemed to catch something. She spoke to the delivery guy as if giving orders to a maid. Got it. Then closed the door swiftly. A group of delivery guys outside fell into contemplation. Chi Amethyst in the room commented on the various takeout orders just received. Buddha's temptation is pretty good, but I prefer this Yangzhou fried rice. She looked at couch potato's happy drink with a hint of disdain, but took a sip right away. The feeling like basking in the spring breeze made Chi Amethyst sigh. The taste was sour and spicy, yet actually refreshing and sweet, quite interesting. Then she confirmed with iPair what this thing was called. This triggered iPair's intelligence again, and automatically added the cola to the shopping cart. She continued her happy online shopping. The dialogue from the TV series caught Chi Amethyst's attention. If it weren't for me, who do you think you are? You are just a leftover woman, relying solely on being a servant girl. Do you think becoming a branch manager can make you regret your marriage? This touched Chi Amethyst's memories, anger levels rising. With a flick of the hand, the cola was thrown away, prompting iPair to quickly change the channel. So the TV automatically switched back to watching the Immortal Cultivation TV drama that was originally being watched. Just saw in the TV drama, the Immortal Cultivation character raised his sword to summon lightning, using the power of nature to condense his moves. This novel spell garnered Chi Amethyst's appreciation. The momentum of summoning heavenly thunder has not been created by anyone on their side. Suddenly, there were flashes of lightning and rolling thunder outside. There seemed to be a gathering momentum of ninefold heavenly thunder. But the next second, the Chi Amethyst returned to its own body. She secretly calculated, and indeed, it was still the regular exchange every 3 days. The paper and pen on the table caught Chi Amethyst's attention. She thought to herself that Lin Fan even thought of leaving a message. At least he's not a complete fool. But when she saw the word on the letter, just one word, ugly. It was written on the paper that today he went to the Golden Pavilion and met Chi Amethyst's fiancée. Damn it, I had told him not to leave the room before. He actually went to the Sutra Pavilion. What a coincidence to meet Saint. He's really a jerk, pouring his heart out in the letter. When are you two getting married? If we keep time traveling like this, am I supposed to help you marry him? And then he mentioned teaching Saint a lesson and boasting about his strong sense of responsibility. The last paragraph made Chi Amethyst burst into laughter. He actually managed to teach Saint a lesson, so it seems he's not entirely useless after all. She covered her mouth after saying that. Just now, her appearance was a bit lacking in the Saintess style. But the sight of a saint making a fool of themselves still made her unable to resist wanting to watch. Then she asked her maid if there was a video of today's confrontation between the treasure trove and the saint. The maid looked a little confused. Video is what it is, and Chi Amethyst quickly corrected her, saying it should be called a photo. Unconsciously, she had already incorporated modern vocabulary into her life. Unfortunately, the maids left hastily, without bringing any objects or recording anything. Upon hearing this, Chi Amethyst suddenly felt a sense of regret. The immortal cultivation world is really inconvenient in this aspect. If there is an iPair, that would be great. Since there isn't one, I'll go find it. So she ordered her maid to prepare a boat to go to Magnificent Peak. Upon returning to his own body, Lin Fan saw a pile of takeout on the table. At the same time, the doorbell rang. Lin Fan opened it to find more takeout. Suddenly, he realized and looked at the mountain of takeout boxes on the table. He quickly picked up his phone to check. Upon returning to his own body, Lin Fan saw a pile of takeout on the table. At the same time, the doorbell rang. Lin Fan opened it to find more takeout. Suddenly, he realized and looked at the mountain of takeout boxes on the table. He quickly picked up his phone to check. The glaringly red numbers made Lin Fan feel like his eyes were about to fall out. Not only did he lose all of his already limited living expenses, but he also had to pay an additional 2,000 yuan. Chi Amethyst, you did a great job. The phone also cooperated very well by jumping out of existing orders. Lin Fan gritted his teeth, tapping the screen to cancel all of them. Cancel them all for me. This quiet and comfortable city now has one more insomniac. Lin Fan thought to himself. This woman is too tricky. It's a pity that I felt guilty for accidentally offending that saint. The phone made a beep sound and a message popped up. Damn, there's more. It turned out to be a video reminder titled Chi Amethyst. Lin Fan felt a bit speechless about this. But he still opened the video. Viewing his own feelings from a different perspective felt really strange. In the video, the person identified as Lin Fan spoke to the camera. Lin Fan, although it isn't necessary, I'll just remind you. I haven't been anywhere these days, and haven't done anything out of line. I hope you take me as an example and avoid crossing boundaries. Lin Fan was full of question marks after hearing this. With a table full of takeout, how could you call that not doing anything out of line? The person in the video continued. After our next swap, I will use your body to do some things. But don't worry, they will be acts of justice. Furthermore, the exchange of our souls is inevitable. I will find out the reason for this. Until then, you cannot misuse this body casually. Lin Fan was going crazy trying to figure out who was misusing his body. Lin Fan exclaimed that this was a scam. He threw his phone onto the sofa. Next time, I won't care about anything you wear. I'll do whatever I want to do, goo. Because of the previous extravagant behavior of Saintess, Lin Fan's body had a barely sustainable trend. Coincidentally, he crossed back. He had to let Lin Fan bear this sin. He then ran trembling to the toilet. This guy, how much did he eat after all? At this time, Chi Amethyst was sitting on the ark heading to Magnificent Peak, and a curious maid asked her companion, Why did Saintess go to Magnificent Peak? Another maid happened to cautiously warn her companion, Don't try to speculate on Saintess's intentions. After the big stick comes the turnip. She voiced her own speculation. This Magnificent Peak disciple rarely interacts with other disciples on ordinary days. Their eldest senior brother Fong Wu hasn't even stepped out of the mountain gate in years. Saintess must be looking for Fong with his time. Just as the words fell, a sigh was heard from the Saintess. The two maids thought they had upset the Saintess with their private discussion and felt very uneasy. The Saintess sighed only because the bubble tea she ordered before traveling back hadn't arrived yet. Unfortunately, she didn't time it well. It's a pity. Ah, she really wants to drink bubble tea. And back to her own Lin Fan, who was shakily walking out of the restroom. Don't misuse others' bodies to eat stuff, you trashy Saintess. Stomach has already been upset. But these are not important matters. During the last soul transmigration, Lin Fan entered the Tibetan scripture pavilion and obtained a secret manual, and just now, he transcribed the entire book from memory. Compared to the previous 2 experiences, probably in 2 to 3 days, he will undergo soul transmigration again. This time, he must first practice the cultivation method. Lin Fan sat cross-legged on the bed. He followed the instructions in the book to focus his breath and concentration, and then searched for his own body's Chi. After a long time without feeling it, Lin Fan began to feel nervous. It was always very smooth when using the Saintess's body. Why can't he feel it now? Keep calm, don't rush. Impatience leads to inability to learn from the secret manual. As mentioned in the book, this is a predecessor, a collection of martial arts collected by a mortal during his travels around the world in his free time. Although martial arts are not worth mentioning to immortal cultivators, the methods of operating inner power are similar to how immortal cultivators control vital chi. He carefully recalls the feeling of running vital chi through the body like a Saintess. Lin Fan's palm seemed to have condensed a mass of golden light-emitting substance. Violet Palace Magnificent Peak, the Saintess who had just disembarked. She bumped into Fong Wu, who was approaching. Fong Wu was muttering about the right timing, and happened to have free time during seclusion. He cast a divination, which indicated the arrival of an honored guest. Unexpectedly, Saintess herself came to visit. Okay, since you knew I was coming, I'll get straight to the point. This treasure, the pure Yang Jade Pendant, can resist a full-strength attack from a golden core stage cultivator. I want to use it to exchange for your heavenly derivation art. Fong Wu was shocked to hear this request. The follower behind him opened his mouth and pointed at Saintess as if to speak. Even her maid thought Saintess was too domineering. How dare she speak? The follower kept talking incessantly, saying, "This is the sacred art passed down by the Sage of Fate to the eldest senior brother. No matter how good your jade pendant is, it cannot compare." He was interrupted before finishing by Fong Wu, who confidently stated, "I, Fong Wu, have studied this art for many years. I believe I can handle all matters under the sky. The essence of this technique lies in passing it down to those fated to inherit it. Now that the Saintess has spoken, I will not refuse. You don't need the jade pendant. Just fulfill one wish of mine." "What wish?" "Please let me divine a hexagram for you." Listening to the Chi Amethyst feels a bit dazed. Fong Wu continues to promote, "As you know, my heavenly derivation art is the skill of calculating the destiny of all things under heaven. If I could have the fortunate opportunity to catch a glimpse of Saintess's destiny regarding my cultivation, it would be greatly beneficial. That being said, what Chi Amethyst is worried about is that the fortune teller does have real knowledge. In case he finds out about my strange relationship with that scoundrel, it might be detrimental to me. But if it is discovered later by someone else, it would be even more troublesome and dangerous for me." So she made up her mind to let the fortune teller have a try. If he really figures it out, there's no need to hide it. Reporting to the sect might even offer a solution. Then she reached out her right hand and asked the fortune teller to predict. The fortune teller silently recited the mantra. He lightly pointed, and a strong wind rose, scattering birds and beasts. Fong Wu's ethereal body entered the Chi Amethyst destiny. Looking around, a hot and dazzling golden light filled every space. Fong Wu was overwhelmed by the immense size of it, causing cold sweat and uncontrollable trembling. Chi Amethyst sensed something unusual and asked Fong Wu what was happening. But the latter made a handsome turn and coolly said, "Divine secrets must not be disclosed." Then he tossed the Chi Amethyst family's sacred art jade slip to her. Inside the jade slip was the cultivation method of my heavenly derivation art. Saintess can study it on her own. Then he issued an expulsion order. Although sudden, the purpose of Chi Amethyst's visit had already been achieved. The two juniors were still angry that eldest senior brother gave away the sacred art so easily, which none of them had learned. They carefully examined and found that eldest senior brother was bleeding from all 7 orifices. The horsemen were all stunned at the sight of eldest senior brother in such a sorry state, which they had never seen before. In the modern world, there are also dazzling sunsets slowly descending. Lin Fan in the room is wrapped in black substance all over. With a bang, only to see the eyes clean and damaged, emitting a golden light. With a bang, the black crystals all over the body shattered. Lin Fan feels his inner power flowing through his meridians. It's obvious I've become stronger. Not only that, his senses have also become much sharper than before. His visual, auditory, and olfactory senses have all become much more acute. After carefully sensing, a foul smell struck him. Having a heightened sense of smell also has its drawbacks. Lin Fan pinched his nose, feeling the impurities being expelled from his body after undergoing marrow cleansing. He felt like he could vomit for 3 days and 3 nights. While he was undressing to clean up, his good roommate, Wang Dong, called. Lin Fan's face was full of disgust when he thought of what he was doing on his own bed in the dormitory. After Wang Dong picked up the phone, he started with a standard opening. "Bro, I just got dumped," said Wang Dong. Lin Fan congratulated him with a straight face. Faced with Wang Dong's incessant account of the details, Lin Fan, who was cold-hearted, was curious. "Is it really that heart-wrenching after only 3 days of dating?" Wang Dong quickly corrected him, saying it was actually a week. It turned out to be a week. Lin Fan then realized that time was actually quite consistent. He calculated that each time of soul transmigration lasted approximately 2 to 3 days. Upon returning, he would still need to synchronize information. While Wang Dong was still present, he wailed like a ghost and wolf, asking his good buddy Lin Fan if he was listening. Lin Fan helplessly said, I'm listening. Stop nagging. Getting drunk can dispel thousands of worries. I will treat you to a meal some other time." "So you called just for this?" Wang Dong responded. "No, it's because you haven't been to class for a week. Old Shin wants you to visit his office." "I'll go. I'll just say I seem to have forgotten something." Lin Fan, who arrived at the school, really couldn't think of what excuse to use. What should I do? I must come up with an excuse to fool Old Shin. As soon as he walked in, Professor Chen said ambiguously, "You still remember how to come to school? How come? Did you think being a graduate student means you can slack off?" Lin Fan scratched his head and wanted to explain, but Professor Chen kindly said, "Oh, what's the matter? If there's a valid reason, I'm not that difficult to talk to." After thinking for a while, Lin Fan firmly replied, I broke up and copied Wang Dong's homework on the spot." He began to recite what Wang Dong said on the phone. Then he used his sister's serious illness as an excuse. Tears also fell very convincingly. Looking at Professor Chen, Lin Fan shivering on the table, a bit confused, wondering what was going on. Just about to show concern, the old man with a flushed face said, "What a wonderful youth. Oh, love." So touching, Lin Fan listened in stunned silence. "Is this okay?" Old Chen said. Getting older makes it easy to think of the past. Sorry if I embarrassed myself. If I had been like you back then. Oh well. Since your girlfriend is sick, just accompany her well. After this passes, come find me. I will help you catch up on your studies. It's all going too smoothly." Thank Professor Lin Fan walked on the playground, feeling it's too easy. Wang Dong's disgusting words are quite effective. I declare Wang Dong to be my brother again for 1 day. I was thinking about how to deal with the issue of skipping classes and how to arrange things in the future. When a text message came in on my phone, it was a reminder to repay the loan. Still need to repay 2,020 yuan by the end of the month. Lin Fan looked at the message and suddenly felt overwhelmed, filling one hole only to find another. This hole of a Saintess. He learned some kung fu and decided to just make money with it. Lin Fan, walking on the street, glanced at the utility pole. He immediately stopped in his tracks and looked at the job advertisement. He recalled 4 years ago. Under the scorching sun, Lin Fan and his father were working together to move bricks. Just as Lin Fan's father was talking about the beautiful future ahead. With a click, he hurt his waist. His co-workers advised old Lin not to work at his age and just take a break. However, Lin Fan's father insisted on continuing to carry bricks to earn more money for his son. Thinking about this, Lin Fan secretly vowed in his heart that when his sacred art was successful, he would make sure everyone lived a good life. However, for now, he still needed to fill the holes. He then made a phone call to look for a job. The Chi Amethyst in the Violet Palace is currently comprehending the heavenly derivation art, which is too profound. The Chi Amethyst is not specializing in this art. It can only make some casual calculations on cause and effect. However, this level of power should be sufficient to locate the criminal for Officer Wu during the next time travel. Speaking of the next time travel, the TV series I watched should have aired up to episode 21 by now. I hope I can catch up on the episodes I missed in between. Hey, that's a good idea. Let's try to see if the heavenly derivation art can catch up on the missed episodes of the show. Wow, she really acts swiftly when she decides to do something. Chi Amethyst starts silently reciting the mantra Disciple, striving to achieve the great Tao. Disciple seeks to catch a glimpse of fate. Episodes 15 to 20 of Evil Purging at Long Tiger Mountain contain the plot details. A voice appears. Chi Amethyst enters the deducing space filled with golden light. She looks at the yellow sphere in front of her. This heavenly derivation art is indeed mysterious. Next, just open this light sphere. She will get the answer. When she reached out to touch it, the sphere shattered starting from the point of contact. There was a sudden flash of golden light with a bang. I saw a lucky highlighted in the ball, just one lucky. Chi Amethyst had a bitter look on her face. Next, I want to ask about the plot. Next. But no matter how many times, it's always just one lucky. However, if it is lucky, it can at least indicate that the cultivator in the drama successfully defeated the demon with the ninefold heavenly thunder celestial howl emperor's sword. Saint's inherited secret family character is pressing down on me in the cultivation method. If I can comprehend the esoteric teachings of the plot, a year later, in the battle for the first sequence, I will definitely catch him off guard. The flying Chi Amethyst found that his body technique had improved even more. Upon leaving the valley, Chi Amethyst plans to attempt the thunder sword art there. Just then, she raised her hand and made a gesture. The purple lightning gathered in her hand, demonstrating a grand and magnificent momentum. Earth-shattering. Back on Earth, at the construction site under the scorching heat, Lin Fan never imagined that the first step in his sacred art cultivation would be to move bricks. However, if it's daily wage work, there is no better place for me than here. Besides, there are acquaintances looking out for me. An uncle with a beard asked, "Fan, I haven't seen you in years. Why do you look so fair?" This sentence reminded Lin Fan that he did seem to have gotten fairer. The uncle joked that it turns out working as a laborer can make someone more delicate. Lin Fan could only smile awkwardly. He was trying to save up for a new phone, but his scholarship wasn't enough. So he had to rely on you. The bearded uncle chuckled and reminded Lin Fan to remember the rules. Lin Fan stood in front of the pile of bricks, ready to go find bricks to move himself. He closed his eyes and held his breath, activating his inner power, emitting a golden light from his body like a super scion. He was thinking about testing the waters with 10 bricks. Not feeling assured, he picked them up with both hands. With a clatter, Lin Fan fell to the ground due to applying too much force. What's going on? These bricks are too light. It feels just like soap. He even fell flat on his face. The next second, Lin Fan lifted thousands of bricks. This astonished his co-workers so much that their jaws almost dropped to the ground. Indeed, his immortal cultivation to cultivate inner power is useful after all. In the evening, when he settled the wages, Uncle Lu specifically gave a little extra. Lin Fan alone finished moving all the bricks in one breath. The extra can be considered as praise for you. After saying this, Uncle Lu added with a particularly uneasy expression, "After taking this money, it's probably better if you don't come next time, all right?" "How come I was fired right after I started working?" Uncle Lu said, "You moved too fast. If you finish everything, what will others have to do?" Can you blame Lin Fan for this? What a guy. Moving thousands of bricks like foam, the more he moves, the more enthusiastic he gets. He can't stop, just like after drinking Red Bull. As an upright and promising modern young man, Lin Fan has taken the first step in Tai Chi. First, he refuses the kindness, then he thanks Uncle Lu for the kindness. He successfully confuses Uncle Lu and takes the blame. The workers in the corner of the brick factory turned into rat men and eavesdropped on the conversation between the two. Lin Fan went straight to the point. "Indeed, I alone move the amount of work that everyone used to do in a day. But in fact, I don't want to take away other people's jobs. Today was a bit unpleasant. I only took the money I deserved." Afterward, he returned the extra money to Uncle Lu, as he was just trying his hand at a side job. He wasn't really trying to become the king of brick movers. That would be too ostentatious. And he was definitely fine on his own. But Saintess is a bit clueless. She definitely can't handle it, so it's better for me to handle it myself. After moving these bricks, I feel even stronger. It's such a cool feeling. Uncle Lu asked, "Did you take a power pill, kid? Otherwise, how could you move bricks with such vigor?" Lin Fan awkwardly replied, "I just learned some martial arts, so I have more strength." This statement made the workers hiding in the corner burst out laughing. They all laughed, and I said that he must be a martial arts expert. "You mentioned the power pill. If it's that effective, I'd use it as my daily meal." The guy in the black shirt directly challenged Uncle Lu to a bet. He wagered today's wages. Uncle Lu looked at the group of cheerful workers and said with a stern face, "You guys have been fooling around all day. It's fortunate that I don't deduct your wages." This reminds Lin Fan of the power pill. If it were in the immortal cultivation world, there must be real Dan alchemy. If he could learn it and refine it on Earth, it would be very useful. He is grateful that the money he earned today is enough to fill up the pit of the Chi Amethyst. But he still has to prevent her from digging another pit for him. This amount of savings is not enough for her extravagance. He needs to plan well for the next crossing. Violet Palace is located in the world of the cliff. She actually managed to master the moves she learned by secretly watching TV. The sword formed from condensed blue light is swung forward by Chi Amethyst. She directly split the forest in half. After using the Chi Amethyst in the TV series Sword Art, she was also exhausted. She clearly used it. But she still lacked the empowerment of thunder and lightning power. The power was still unsatisfactory. The knife marks on the cliff can indeed demonstrate great power. But the critical step of attracting thunder into the sword is still missing. Chi Amethyst sighed wearily. She couldn't solve the problem for a while. It's better to go back first. Time to calculate. It's almost time for her next time travel. She has to prepare well for the changing of identities every 3 days. It will happen as scheduled, with both sides leaving notices. Hopefully, there won't be any more problems. What kind of trouble will the two of them get into this time? The male lead looked at the original owner across the table with a slightly speechless expression. Every time he saw the photos left by Chi Amethyst, he felt uncomfortable all over. And unsurprisingly, there was a surprise. Chi Amethyst said miserably, "As I said, the exchange between you and me, true soul, is a foregone conclusion. Although I do not know what you have done. But in recent days, there have been repeated breakthroughs in my cultivation bottleneck. It must be thanks to you." What a weird thing. The master is completely puzzled. "Can you take credit for something I didn't do?" Chi Amethyst continued, apparently. "It seems that setting many rules for you is inappropriate. Afterwards, you can go out for activities as appropriate. But be extremely careful not to reveal anything. Adding one more sentence for future convenience, it is necessary for me to inform you of the basic information of my world. Remember it well? Lin Fan was delighted by this. He has been exploring for so long without leaving the newbie village. This time could be considered as a guide, continuing the introduction. My name is Chi Amethyst. I am the Saintess of the Violet Palace Sacred Land. Saint Lord Mo is my master, who is a Taoist master in the Violet Palace Sacred Land. Lin Fan's eyes widened when he heard this. Immortal Scion is definitely above all others. Continue to say, as for that saint you encountered last time, he is another disciple of Master, and his matters are not for you to know. You only need to know that. If he successfully enters the first sequence in a year, then I will marry him. And this is also the most direct reason why I want to compete with him for the first sequence. Lin Fan listened angrily. How come there are still such practices in the immortal cultivation world, forcing someone to marry against their will? At this point, Lu Ying revealed his killer move. The timing of us resolving the matter of time travel is still uncertain. If you don't want to share a bed with that man a year from now, I advise you to cooperate well with me. Lin Fan wanted nothing more than to break his head. This must be coordinated. Later, he began a passionate sermon as a young man of integrity in the 21st century. What is this? This is robbing the people's daughters. You cannot marry a man you do not love. Speaking of this, Lin Fan came to his senses. Something is wrong. He pointed at the photo and shouted, "You cannot marry any man." It's a pity that the photo did not respond at all. He continued to introduce on his own. First were the two cute maids. One is named Zhou Yining, and the other is named Chen Cheng. When it comes to Lin Fan, she can be proud. After all, she managed to get it out on the first day. Then, Lin Fan started to introduce Yukiana from Mount Yukiana. Although she is a candidate for the first sequence, her strength is lacking, so she was passed over. Lin Fan is familiar with this beauty as well. He once struck up a conversation with her in the scripture tower, but he managed to deceive her. The remaining candidates are Fang Wu from Magnificent Peak, Dan Chenzi from Dan Peak, and Fan Jiqing from Ancient Deity Peak. Lang hasn't finished introducing them yet. Upon hearing about Lin Fan from Dan Peak, he felt like he had taken chicken blood and his mind was filled with thoughts of the power pill. He sprinted off to prepare for a novice-level Dan alchemy, completely unaware of the next words from the Saintess. This time, he is going to accomplish a great feat using Lin Fan's body. It will serve as compensation for secretly using the Saintess's body to bathe last time. On Lin Fan's side, he pushed the door and boarded the boat in one go. Lin Fan, standing in front of Dan Feng, was extremely excited. Power pill, here I come. He walked on the streets of Dancheng. The extras were very surprised to see the arrival of Saintess. There were speculations that Dan Chenzi's experiment had succeeded. Saintess came to inspect the goods. Lin Fan, not familiar with the place, directly asked the locals where Dan Chenzi was located. He only saw him pointing to the tallest and largest Dan refining house, where senior brother Dan Chenzi was located. Lin Fan happily walked along, humming a little tune. Even if it's not a power pill, a revitalization Dan will do, or anything else that can be used on Earth. Just after walking a few steps, the huge Dan refining house in front of him exploded with a loud bang. Lin Fan was stunned. What's going on? With a duong sound. A round chubby person was shot from over 10 meters away and landed at Lin Fan's feet. The disciples went up without being surprised to treat Dan Chenzi. They continued to sigh and said, "Senior brother Dan Chenzi, you've blown up the Dan furnace again." Lin Fan felt more speechless when he saw this. This is Dan Chenzi. Somehow, it seems like he is even better at demolishing buildings. After the recovery, the chubby Dan Chenzi said to Lin Fan, "I wonder if the Saintess has come to visit." "You're making me laugh," he said, then burst into laughter. Lin Fan, who was sipping tea, felt that Xiaopang had a really good attitude. He instantly felt confident in the information provided by Dan Refining. As soon as the teacup was set down, he was about to explain the purpose of his visit today. Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Danshinzi, who confidently said, "You came to see me for the top-quality void refining Dan, right?" "Huh?" Lin Fan looked puzzled. "Top-quality void refining Dan? Okay. Exactly. What size should you wear? I don't care if you bait your fish hook for me." The big boy immediately scratched his head and said, "That's not the case." This time, Lin Fan listened with a black line on his face. "What are you talking about? Don't fool around." Danshinzi has no mercy this time. He goes straight to the point, saying if Saintess helps me promote, he will continue to keep people guessing, leaving Lin Fan even more puzzled. "Little brother, would you like to guess the riddle? Danshinzi will reveal the answer later on." "I sense your highness's aura, already at the spirit separation pinnacle, ready to break through at any time with your highness's talent. It may only take a few months at most. Why don't we both win? Today you leave from me. When you break through void refining in the future, rumors will spread. At that time, you just need to not deny." Upon hearing this, Lin Fan's expression darkened as he said, "You want me to help you deceive others." But in his heart, he did admire the business acumen of this chubby person. But seeing the Saintess looking unhappy, Danshinzi said in a fluster, "Just give me some more time. I will definitely be able to refine a truly top-quality void refining Dan." And he directly began to bribe. When the Saintess left, "I will give the breakthrough Dan pill." His cleverness made Lin Fan secretly admire. "He's really cut out for business," little fatty continued to boast about himself. Danshinzi, started studying pharmacology at the age of 3 and began researching Dan refining at the age of 8, developing the genuine, top-grade void refining Dan, which has been my lifelong wish. In order to collect data, I also tested the medicine on myself. Then, due to taking too much medicine, my body started to swell." "Oh, so you gained weight from taking medicine." When it came to this, Danshinzi burst into tears. He lamented that his Dan sect was completely broke and couldn't hold on any longer. Lin Fan sees that Xiaopeng has a bit of business acumen. It takes some skills to come up with these ideas. So he decided to lend a hand. But the condition is to do it in Lin Fan's own way, right? What way? Soul transmigration derived Chi Amethyst. She is engaged in divination in this world. She recalled the face she had seen on TV. She immediately deduced the specific location. She felt the inner power of this body. Chi Amethyst praised Lin Fan for being a little clever. He can explore inner power using miscellaneous books even in a world with thin spiritual power. On the park pathways with people coming and going. A man on a bench secretly following someone. A voice came through his earphones. "Captain Wu, it's been 3 days. "There's no trace at all," Wu Guodong gritted his teeth and said. "The signal is clearly here. Why can't we find him?" He reminded his subordinates to stay alert and not let the person escape. And by the lake in the park, a fisherman was leisurely fishing with a stick by the lake. However, the bucket was empty, obviously nothing inside. Suddenly, there was a strange noise coming from the forest behind. The man turned around. The person who walked out was Chi Amethyst, who used Lin Fan's body for parkour yesterday. She walked and spoke. "Xiao Shufeng, I found you," surprising the fisherman. The fisherman then changed his expression to an innocent face and said, "Little brother, what are you talking about?" Chi Amethyst looked at the man in confusion and said, "You look different. Did you disguise yourself?" Even though the man was pretending to be innocent at this time, trying to make others think they had made a mistake. But Chi Amethyst will not admit fault. Because she sees a different scene in her eyes than the average person. The man in his field of vision carries a heavy fate. With an aura of extreme ill fortune all over his body, it must be him without a doubt. Once confirmed, she immediately caught hold of the man's clothes and prepared to drag him to the police to report. Seeing that hiding failed, the man's eyes turned fierce. He grabbed Chi Amethyst's arm with his backhand. A triangular military spike fell from his sleeve, aiming to stab him. Chi Amethyst dodged the strike with quick reflexes. She kicked towards the man's unsteady feet with a backhand. Seeing that she was about to fall into the water due to her unsteady balance, the man grabbed onto Chi Amethyst's arm and wouldn't let go. With a loud splash, the two of them fell into the water. The man thought to himself, this person has some skills. But underwater, he was invincible. He could hide in the park. Not just because of his disguise, but also because his nickname was Leaping Carp. He raised his dagger and lunged towards Chi Amethyst. But no matter if it was a stab or a slash, it was easily dodged. Just see Chi Amethyst with a combination attack. Elbow, leg, fist. These few moves are about to render the man unconscious. The man realizes the seriousness of the situation and things are not looking good. Leaping Carp also doesn't hold back. He takes out a handgun from his back. Just see a bullet leaving a spiral path in the water. It is about to hit Chi Amethyst. Captain Wu, who was on lookout duty, heard the sound of someone falling into the water and hurried over to investigate. Quietly by the lakeside, bubbles popped up one after another, and then a person's head emerged. It turned out to be Chi Amethyst carrying a prisoner walking ashore. Chi Amethyst, whose cheek was grazed by a bullet, thought that the weapons of mortals were truly amazing. Despite not being driven by spiritual power, they still possess such astonishing force. It seems that I have underestimated this world. However, if I hadn't been distracted by stray thoughts at that time, I wouldn't have missed it. There seemed to be something in the water. Suddenly, a voice from Lin Fan came. Captain Wu is running over here. He saw the person Chi Amethyst was carrying. Captain Wu seemed somewhat surprised. Chi Amethyst set the person down and said to Captain Wu, "Perfect timing, saves me from having to find you again. Xiao Shufeng, I've found you." "This is Captain Wu." He paused, asking where Xiao Shufeng was. Then he approached Chi Amethyst, signaling to keep quiet. "This is a covert operation. If we're unsure of his whereabouts, we shouldn't alert him." He squatted down to check on the person drowning and said, "I just heard someone fell into the water, so I rushed over immediately. I didn't expect it was you, kid." "This guy is the one you saved from drowning, right? Stop pretending to be Xiao Shufeng. You don't look like him at all." And sternly said, "Not causing trouble is the greatest help you can give me." But when checking the pulse of the drowning person, the uneven texture of the man's neck is too conspicuous. Only to see Captain Wu lift a flap along the seam. It turns out to be a disguised mask, and the person under the mask is Xiao Shufeng. This really shocked all the young comrades. Captain Wu. After a moment of contemplation, I suddenly realized that this kid is talented. Not only did he see through the disguise, but he also came up with the idea of using the method of helping someone who had fallen into the water to divert attention. This way, it wouldn't impact the masses or cause unrest. He is a young man with both courage and strategical thinking. Captain Wu. Let the younger brother inform headquarters to take the person away in the name of drowning. Later, he asked how Chi Amethyst managed to find it. Chi Amethyst looked speechless. "I calculated it. Wasn't it you who asked me to calculate it for you?" Captain Wu, who heard this answer, also fell into a daze. At this point, Chi Amethyst turned around, leaving Captain Wu seeing the scar on her cheek. Was it a gunshot wound? Since he had a gun. This scared Captain Wu, who was about to take Chi Amethyst to the hospital. Chi Amethyst quickly waved her hand. "It's just a scratch, nothing worth mentioning." This relieved Captain Wu. "You're really lucky, kid. Where's that guy?" "That thing that spits out stuff sank to the bottom of the water." Captain Wu breathed a sigh of relief. Sinking to the bottom is much better than losing it. No matter what, capturing that man is a great achievement. The bonus will naturally not be small. Upon hearing the word bonus, Chi Amethyst's eyes lit up. "Bonus? Is it for me?" At the mention of catching criminals for a bonus, Chi Amethyst was shocked. 100,000? Chi Amethyst with stars in her eyes thought that with this money, she would no longer be restricted by Lin Fan. Outside the park, Captain Wu said the bonus would take a few more days to come down. Busy on this side, gotta go first as a sign of respect. He was pulled by Chi Amethyst. The money lover wants cash now. This left Captain Wu speechless. Where can I magically produce so much money for you? Chi Amethyst persisted and suggested paying a deposit first. This left Captain Wu completely speechless. Grumbling, he took out a sum of money from his pocket, saying, I'm a police officer. Can I still deceive you? This is all I have on me. Consider it as the deposit. This is money I advanced myself. You have to pay me back when the bonus comes in, Chi Amethyst said without even looking up. At the latest, tomorrow. Captain Wu looked at her incredulously. But he decided not to make a fuss about it since someone had been caught. He added hesitantly, I might need your help again in the future. Go change into dry clothes quickly so you don't catch a cold. Captain Wu, who got on the car. He added another sentence. We can't take such risks anymore in the future. After the car left, there was a loud bang. Chi Amethyst's luck scattered the moisture around him. Having inner power is awesome. Don't even need a dryer, it's like an ambulance inside. The doctor examined the suspect and confirmed that the loss of consciousness was due to a severe blow to the head. Additionally, there were multiple new bruises. There are also signs of drowning. It is deduced that the suspect was knocked unconscious during an underwater struggle and subsequently drowned. Captain Wu listened with disbelief. This suspect is known in the underworld as Leaping Carp. Fighting in the water is his specialty. During a previous pursuit, he led us into the water. 5 of our brothers were injured. In the end, he leisurely escaped as if nothing had happened. Captain Wu scolded the little brothers on the spot. It's not because you guys are useless. The little brother looked aggrieved and said, It's not like that, Captain Wu. He was like he activated a cheat code as soon as he entered the water. We really couldn't catch him. Upon hearing this, Captain Wu fell into contemplation. He harbored suspicions towards Lin Fan. If he could expose Qiu Shufeng's disguise, he could also capture him from the water. Lin Fan, who exactly are you? Within the Immortal Realm's Dan sect. Dan Shinzi respectfully offered a tray full of low-level Dan formulas, basic Dan alchemy materials, and some experimental Dan pills to Lin Fan with a silly and sycophantic look on his face, eager to give them all to Lin Fan at once. Lin Fan was a bit stunned to suddenly receive so much. I can't take the Dan pill back with me. It looks like I can only leave it to Chi Amethyst, he said politely. Since it's Dan Brothers' kind intention, I will accept it then. He heard Lin Fan say, Brother. Dan Shinzi, with tears in his eyes, kowtowed to Lin Fan. Blessed by the Saintess leader, may the breakthrough be successful. The sudden move startled Lin Fan. He quickly changed the subject. This tea tastes good? Is there more? Dan Shinzi first shouted. Report to the leader. No more. Then he pitifully said again, I won't hide it from you. This is the last bit of spiritual tea left in our Dan sect. It was brought out only to entertain the Honorable Saintess. It's really pathetic, right? We are so poor that we don't even have tea. Taking the Chi Amethyst of the spiritual Dan, he happily walked out. In the immortal cultivation world, there are many medicinal herbs that we also have on our side. As long as I find the Dan pill that I can refine. Power pill, life-extending Dan, sea dog pill, heart-replenishing Dan, and so on, all of these money-making items are indispensable. Junior sister suddenly called out to Lin Fan, and Yukiana stared straight at the medicine bag saying, So, have you really obtained the top-quality void refining Dan? Huh? Now it's Lin Fan's turn to be confused again. He looked at the beautiful woman in front of him. In his memory, Chi Amethyst had introduced her as the eldest senior sister of Violet Palace, but her words still puzzled Lin Fan a bit. It's all rather confusing. Yukiana muttered to herself. Junior sister has always been exceptionally talented. She became the Saintess shortly after entering the sect, And now she has obtained a high-quality void refining Dan. Then she put on a resentful look and said, breaking through to the void refining stage and reaching the first sequence should be almost certain. Although it's troublesome, Lin Fan patiently explained, Senior sister, that's not the case. I don't need those things. And it's too early for you to rely on the void refining Dan for a breakthrough. The speaker is unintentional, but the listener is intentional. In the ears of Yukiana, this remark is purely mocking. Lin Fan looked a bit puzzled at Yukiana's gnashing teeth. What's wrong again? Yukiana lamented self-pityingly. That's true. You, who have always been hailed as a prodigy. Naturally, you disdain such external matters. Speaking of this, Yukiana exudes a dark purple aura all around her. She became more and more excited as she spoke. Your humble grasp, my treasure. We commoners resort to all means to climb higher. In your eyes, it's just a ridiculous struggle. Seeing Yukiana getting more and more excited, Lin Fan quickly interrupted her. Although he mumbled in his heart about how strange this person was, he still acted as a close elder brother to comfort and advise. Senior sister, don't belittle yourself without reason. Immortal cultivation, is all for achieving the great Tao and becoming immortal. Everyone has the same goal. What difference is there in the efforts made to become immortal? No matter if it is a black cat or a white cat, as long as it can catch mice, it is a good cat. This statement strikes a chord with Yukiana. When it comes to it, Lin Fan also recalls the scroll on Chi Amethyst's desk in his mind. She is also working very hard in a place unseen by you. At this point, Lin Fan also felt that he had said enough kind words. He added a wish for your early breakthrough. Goodbye, he said, then left with his long strides. Yukiana, who was standing still, instantly melted into a cute cat girl. The Saintess said I am a good kitty. At this moment, there were gasps from the ordinary disciples around. Dan Chenzi is giving out void refining Dan for free. Another supporting character also shouted excitedly that such good things exist. Before long, the people on the street flashed and sprinted to get the free Dan pill. Upon hearing that Yukiana was being given away, they couldn't contain themselves and followed suit. In front of a square, Dan Chenzi cleared his throat lightly. He delivered a passionate and emotional speech to the audience below the platform. Everyone who came to my Dan sect today is here for the top-quality void refining Dan refined by me, Dan Chenzi. At this time, Yukiana also squeezed into the front row to watch the show. Dan Chenzi on stage continued to boast about himself. I, Dan Chenzi, have dedicated my life to Dan refining in order to refine the top-quality void refining Dan that can help people break through the void refining stage. I have put in even more effort. Finally, now I have welcomed the public testing of void refining Dan. The Yukiana who is standing in front is listening to the disciples discussing the recent visit of the Saintess. It must be for void refining Dan. Upon hearing this, the Yukiana mistakenly thought that Lin Fan had already obtained the Dan pill, which further solidified her desire to obtain the void refining Dan. At this moment, the fat man on the stage also announced, in order to repay the sect's cultivation and improve our Violet Palace's overall strength, I have decided to give away this Dan pill for free, regardless of the cost. This is no less than a heavy bombshell. You can tell from the shocked looks of our colleagues. Dan Chenzi added, as long as you are a Violet Palace disciple, you have the opportunity to receive it. The younger brother beside him explained that Dan Chenzi's senior brother is righteous. The audience below immediately became excited and cheered with raised arms. Dan Chenzi immediately changed his expression and pretended to look hesitant as he said, this void refining Dan is not an ordinary product and cannot be mass-produced. It is limited in quantity and can only satisfy a few people for now. A junior on the side started to look unhappy. This won't do. I've bought a lot of things from your Dan sect. What this junior brother said is absolutely right. Those with a deep connection to our Dan sect must be given priority in receiving gifts. Shortly after, he lifted the large red cloth, revealing the notice board hung with many tokens. He also said, "Hurry and become a VIP member of the Dan sect." The audience below the stage were all stunned, wondering what it was. Dan Chenzi continued to promote. "From now on, all consumers at my Dan sect can become Dan sect VIP members. A typical online spending model. Any consumption and contribution at Dan sect will be recorded as points. Accumulate points to upgrade your membership level. Unlock membership privileges and benefits. When you reach the premium membership level, you will have the opportunity to receive the Void Refining Dan public beta access. Violet Palace disciples who have not experienced the cruelty of society may find this gameplay very intriguing, since you can get high-quality Dan pills for free." Everyone immediately wanted to buy tons of them. "I don't care. I will definitely clear out Dan sect on the spot with a swoosh." The spiritual stones on the table instantly piled up into small mountains. The notorious Yukiana is buying up all snowflake ointment and frost powder. Dan Chenzi was stunned by this pile of stuff. He immediately announced that the top rich woman Yukiana would become a VIP member of the Dan sect. She was granted the exclusive opportunity to test the premium Void Refining Dan. Chi Amethyst was also busy on this side. Previously, she managed to capture a criminal single-handedly and received a reward. That night, there was an official meeting. Captain Wu, who had previously advanced her salary, tentatively inquired about whether it could be reimbursed or not. Chi Amethyst said it's okay if the money hasn't been received yet. "What is the situation with this commendation meeting?" Captain Wu quickly explained that you are a representative of good deeds and kindness. "Of course, we should promote and commend you." Chi Amethyst, who has always detested formalism, directly refused. She stated that giving her money would suffice. Captain Wu: "There's no way out." The leader said he would personally award the bonus. He even invited many reporters. "Don't be shy, this is a good thing." "I can't help but feel impatient. Why hasn't the leader come yet? Wasn't it said that it would be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Now the moon has risen." Seeing this, Chi Amethyst also made me worried. "It's almost time to switch back to that guy. We must have the money by then. Get the cash ready." Captain Wu: "Still want to make excuses for the boss after all, considering the leader's busy work. It is inevitable to come late. Speak of the devil, and he will appear." The leader and a large group of entourage walked in. The waiter next to them kept congratulating the leader to leave a good impression. Seeing Captain Wu, too, breathed a sigh of relief. "Finally here. Can go off work soon." Without any surprises, the leader on stage will most likely give a long speech after this. Time is running out. Chi Amethyst quickly took a marker and jotted down the information in the palm of her hand. "Next, it's time for the photo shoot." Chi Amethyst, holding the check, is turning green with anger. Why hasn't the late leader given him the money yet? And the leader also looks nervous, holding the check tightly without daring to slack off. If he relaxes his strength a little, the check might be snatched away. She suddenly blacked out. Just a moment ago, she was angry that the immortal cultivator was usually lacking in studying. Lin Fan, who summarized slowly, returned to his own body. He felt a little guilty that he had troubled his disciple Lin Fan to write these things. He had a big question mark in front of the award ceremony scene. The atmosphere on the scene was embarrassingly awkward. Lin Fan and the little brother taking photos in the audience were both at a loss. Captain Wu. Gritting his teeth, Captain Wu reminded Lin Fan, who was still in a daze, to say something quickly. Luckily, the hostess was experienced in handling unexpected situations. Let's give Lin Fan a round of applause to cheer him up. All the journalists at the scene greeted him with the loudest applause. It's embarrassing now. It's Lin Fan's turn. He looked at the audience below clapping. Lin Fan was almost furious and on the verge of bursting into expletives. He promised not to mess around. How did it become such a big scene as soon as he came up? Luckily, Lin Fan is a graduate student who has been educated through more than 10 years of school life. with writing experience dating back to that time. Lin Fan, who has long memorized the formula for opening remarks and leadership speeches, blurts out words of thanks to the leaders, parents, alma mater, and teachers. The standard sequence of the script left the audience below speechless. He then added a motivational cliché he had heard since childhood as the ending. His perfect format drew continuous applause from the journalists. Sure enough, verbose literature still works. After the dispersal of the audience at the parking lot, Captain Wu repeatedly praised Lin Fan, just standing on the stage like a dummy without moving. I originally thought it was due to poor mental quality that scared you stiff. I see it now. You just like to play the game of accumulating power, suppressing before rising. Lin Fan, who was hooked under the armpit, smiled helplessly. He had no idea what was going on. How did he suddenly become so familiar with the police officer? Lin Fan, who was sitting in Captain Wu's car, looked at the 100,000 yuan prize check. The money came so suddenly. With a quick glance, Lin Fan noticed the words on the palm of his hand. The words written on it are very detailed. How much was used last time? How much is left this time? It's also specially marked. Do not touch this money. Okay. I won't use it. I have enough money for myself. Tomorrow I will go buy the medicinal herbs for Dan refining. The next day, Lin Fan arrived at the pharmacy, feeling so angry that he couldn't close his mouth. How can they sell things so expensive when they are everywhere in his hometown? What's going on? Even becoming an immortal requires taking an exam. Chi Amethyst was speechless as he looked at the papers on the desk. She pushed open the door a moment later. The little maid was kneeling at the door. Both of them were feeling extremely anxious because when Lin Fan took control of the body, he launched a sudden inspection and demanded everyone to hand in their exam papers. The pressure of those who had not experienced 5 years of college entrance exams and 3 years of mock exams overwhelmed their minds. As a result, they blindly wrote a passage to submit. Needless to say, such an exam paper was a mess. Saintess will definitely be furious when she sees it. Whether we die early or late, we will face death. The maid with blunt bangs acted decisively and directly begged for mercy. Please calm down, Saintess. We are foolish by nature. We have been neglectful in our studies on a daily basis. Only through this test do we realize our many shortcomings. In the future, we will surely work 100 times harder to not disgrace the title of Saintess disciple. The maid with slanted bangs beside her immediately echoed, I feel the same way. Chi Amethyst was even more puzzled by this situation. They had only been on Earth for a few days after soul transmigration, but now they acted like a pair of lively characters. She sighed helplessly. She handed the examination papers to them and said, These are the test papers you submitted before. There are numerous mistakes and omissions. I have made annotations on your errors. How much you can comprehend depends entirely on your own understanding. Send the papers back to the disciples inside the gate. With that, she walked back to her chamber. The two people kneeling on the ground looked confused. This scene was nothing like what they had expected. The Saintess, who is usually imposing and intimidating, didn't show any anger or reprimand. She was unexpectedly gentle. So lovable indeed. Chi Amethyst, who closed the door, frowned. Lin Fan, that guy. Always causing trouble for me. And now he arranges for some internal examination. It's obvious that he just wants to study immortal cultivation himself, and is messing around with all this. With that in mind, it all makes sense now. Ever since I started soul transmigration with him, my long-stuck cultivation level has started to gradually increase. Now it seems that it's all because of that guy Lin Fan. Continuously using my body to study the basics of immortal cultivation. All cultivation is based on the foundation. I actually forgot about this point. I was having so much fun over there. I'm really ashamed. However, it seems that he will not be content with the status quo. Men. Ultimately, they are creatures driven by ambition. She carefully thought about it, and realized that everything is so tumultuous now. I had so much fun over there. I feel guilty. However, it seems that he will not be content with the status quo. Men are ultimately driven by ambition. She thought carefully that he is so unruly now, so it's possible that he will cause trouble in the future. She needs to enhance his ability to protect himself and ensure his safety. No, how could she start to care about his comfort on her own? Thinking of this, Chi Amethyst blushed and comforted herself quietly in her heart. This is to protect myself, for the safety of my own body. She recalled the weapons she had previously used underwater on Earth. Humans on Earth, although they do not cultivate spiritual power. However, they are not completely weak. If the shortcut artifact forging method is used with techniques and art to drive it, it might not only give Lin Fan some self-protection power, but could also be used as a surprise killer move in future battles. However, I can't make this new gimmick myself. I need to ask the artifact refining master at the Dan sect for help. She immediately took action. Chi Amethyst, who pushed open the door, also wanted to bring 2 maids along to explore. But the 2 of them are still studying for the exam. This is also a rare learning opportunity for them. Forget it, I'll go by myself. So she instructed the 2 to carefully contemplate in the room. I'm going to visit the Dan sect. The maids were a bit puzzled upon hearing this. Didn't you just go there? Why go again? Late at night, the table in the room is filled with various specialized chemical containers. The alcohol lamp is still heating an unknown liquid. A man is grinding some kind of medicinal herb, and he continues to grind for a while. Lin Fan looks up at the ingredient list posted on the wall: pearl powder, stiff silkworm, and sour jujube kernel. Items like saffron. This looks pretty simple. But the problem is, how much is in moderation? How much is a little? And what about coloring? What does 70% heat mean, and how large is a gentle heat flame? It's difficult to understand empirical knowledge. With a bang, Lin Fan directly knocked over the medicine pestle. He looked at the scattered powder on the table. Ah, this is all the result of his hard work. He should quickly clean up. These things should not be thrown around. It was all slowly ground out, after all. Darn it, does damn refining have to be done with ready-made materials? A moment later, Jo Nana knocked on Lin Fan's door. She gestured for him to hurry up and open the door. The burnt smell had provoked complaints from the neighbors. Ugh, why do I have to come knock on the door so late at night? Hurry up and open it. She knocked for a while, but there was no response. But the smell kept wafting out from the room. Could it be that he forgot to turn off the stove while cooking? This is a serious problem. The wealthy woman took out a large bunch of keys to try to open the door. Oh, not this keychain. Got it wrong again. After struggling for a while, she finally opened the door. The unpleasant smell was really overpowering. Jo Nana covered her nose and went in to investigate. Lin Fan, in front of a pile of containers and test tubes, was scraping white powder with a bank card. Wow, this move, combined with Lin Fan's lewd expression, shocked Jo Nana. She directly called 999 for assistance. No, don't. My life, Sister Nana, listen to my explanation. Then he grabbed Jo Nana's hand. He hastily shouted, Sister Nana, you've misunderstood. It's not like that. Jo Nana, who was furious, didn't listen. I won't listen. I won't listen. I kindly rented the house to you cheaply, and you're doing this in my house. The more she spoke, the more worked up she became. Thinking about it carefully, it's not surprising for a man who gets into fights at the bar to do such things. It's all fake. Scammer. Despicable man. Well, Lin Fan said that I got beaten up because I stood up for you back then. He saw that the situation was starting to go wrong. Lin Fan, hard ruthless, directly countered Jo Nana's hands. I already said it's not what you think. I'm damn refining. Don't speak nonsense. With a thud, the force of the counter made Jo Nana cry out in pain. The warm posture made both sides fall into silence. Joe Nana asked with confusion. Dan refining? The two of them sat in the living room to clear up the misunderstanding. It was Lin Fan's turn for a brainstorming session. He immediately had an idea. It's the jade skin Dan. It can whiten and nourish the skin. Haven't you noticed that my skin has gotten better? At the first hearing, Joe Nana did find something different. Lin Fan's skin is even whiter than hers. And it's also delicate, smooth, and elastic. Although I am older than you by a few years, and I take care of my skin every day, it doesn't make sense that I am worse off than you. A big man, right? Seeing Sister Nana fall for it, Lin Fan immediately confirmed, saying it is the effect of the Dan pill. Seeing Joe Nana still having some concerns, Lin Fan directly introduced his Dan refining formula. With a wave of his hand, he pointed to the pearl powder on the table, saying, "All this is prepared for Dan refining." Looking at Joe Nana, who was grinding the powder, Lin Fan was sweating profusely. Although it was a lie I came up with on the spot, the one being refined indeed has the effect of whitening and nourishing the skin, the jade skin Dan. Danshinzi gave me the basic recipe for it. There are actually several corresponding medicinal herbs that can be found on Earth. But many of these medicinal herbs are not available in regular pharmacies. So he can only start by trying the accessible single herbs first. Jade Skin Dan is an entry-level Dan pill that can be achieved using commonly found medicinal herbs. Suddenly, Joe Nana, with a dark face, stared at Lin Fan, making Lin Fan feel uneasy. I saw Sister Nana blush and say shyly, "Can you give me some of this jade skin Dan that you have?" Lin Fan immediately stood up from the stool. He opened the rice cooker to show Joe Nana his work, which left Sister Nana puzzled. Why would Dan refining be in the rice cooker? And there was a black, sticky substance in the rice cooker. This caused the two of them to be speechless. Lin Fan secretly wondered why he had been marinating for so long and still hadn't solidified. Lin Fan picked up a bowl of black, pasty substance and handed it to Joe Nana. He turned his head awkwardly and said, "This is Jade Skin Dan. Oh no, Jade Skin Kanji." Joe Nana once again confirmed with Lin Fan. "Is this the thing that can help whiten the skin?" He lied and had to reluctantly stick to his story. Lin Fan weakly affirmed, "Yes." Saintess has just entered the Dan sect. The disciples immediately set off firecrackers and presented flowers as a greeting. Everyone kept saying, "Welcome, VIP member Saintess Dan sect, Chi Amethyst, has arrived." This confused Chi Amethyst about what VIP member is. On the side, someone took on the role of welcoming and said, "I will go inform Senior Brother Dan to wait in the VIP lounge for a moment. Your Highness, Saintess, please come with me." This enthusiastic gesture made Chi Amethyst curious about what Lin Fan was up to, and why everyone had this attitude. Along the way, the streets of the Dan sect, which used to be very quiet, were bustling and lively at this moment. There were vendors selling blood ginseng, selling birds' nests, and even selling Dan furnaces. Everyone was talking about buying things to earn points and mentioning discounts for members. She looked at the bustling street with people coming and going. The terms mentioned by those vendors were all unique to Lin Fan's side. The usually deserted Dan sect has unexpectedly become so lively. Could it be all because of Lin Fan's doing? She arrived at the Dan sect reception hall. Danshinzi, looking like a junior, invited Chi Amethyst to take a seat. He shouted for the disciples to quickly serve tea. Without waiting for Chi Amethyst to speak, Danshinzi guesses the Saintess's intentions on his own. "You came to see me this time to claim the bonus we discussed last time, right?" Chi Amethyst looked puzzled. "Last time? Bonus?" But Chi Amethyst affirmed that it didn't sound like a bad thing. This trip was for this purpose. I saw Danshinzi handing over a big bag of spiritual stones with both hands, which is the previously promised earnings of 825 spiritual stones. Please count them. Danshinzi, who has earned money, is overjoyed. He quickly said, "Many thanks to the wise advice of the Saintess. The kindness of the Saintess to the Dan sect goes far beyond just money. I, Danshinzi, understand this in my heart. In the future, I am willing to serve the Saintess tirelessly and unhesitatingly. Chi Amethyst felt a little overwhelmed by the weight of this big bag of spiritual stones. Originally, she thought to herself, I must have won that 100,000 bounty. She no longer had to look at his color from then on. Unexpectedly, this happened. He is going to show off even more now, isn't he? I'm not convinced. I must earn even more bounty. Make Lin Fan feel ashamed too. Then she suddenly realized something was not right. It shouldn't be. She stubbornly said, she has never felt ashamed either. A moment later, under the insinuation of Chi Amethyst, she finally understood the series of measures that Lin Fan had taken here. She directly admitted that this amazing move was created by her own Tao. Dan Shinzi directly praised the leader as wise, and the style suddenly changed. Chi Amethyst mentioned the purpose of this trip. She has something to trouble Dan brother. Without saying a word, Dan Shinzi, considering himself her top lackey, immediately took over. He could handle anything. Chi Amethyst opened the parchment and found a drawing of a pistol on it. She then said, This artifact sketch was drawn by me when I was inspired. I would like to ask Dan brother from Dan's Sects Artifact Forging Pavilion to help me attempt to craft it. I am not very clear about the specific operational principles yet. In general, the explosive energy is compressed inside the projectile, ignited by a spark, and then released instantly at the exit, achieving a speed and power increase of 100-fold. Ah, when I heard this, Dan is clear in his heart, and no one is more familiar with it than him. This is a blasting Dan furnace, isn't it? Ah? This sounds even more confused about Chi Amethyst. How does this relate? Dan Shinzi directly took the bet, handed it to him, exploded the Dan furnace. No one in the entire immortal cultivation world has more experience than me. Chi Amethyst instantly felt that this person had such a serious illness. This black thing is actually the jade skin kanji that whitens the skin. Although the maker doesn't believe it, it really has this effect. After using it, Jo Nana's skin radiated with a youthful glow. The delicate and fair skin proved the effectiveness of this kanji. Lin Fan was also secretly delighted. The first experiment unexpectedly succeeded. Her skin visibly became fairer and better. She was indeed amazing. Jo Nana curiously asked, Did you make this yourself? Lin Fan, in order to keep it a secret, had to say it was an ancestral secret recipe. Jo Nana felt that it was very effective, but admitted that it did not look good. She asked him what he planned to do with this medicine. Lin Fan himself doesn't have any plans in mind, not knowing what its uses are. Jo Nana was only seen sitting on the sofa with her feet up, exuding the air of a big boss as she said, Just sell the medicine to her. Lin Fan innocently asked Jo Nana that she can take it whenever she needs it. But the highly capable business-savvy Jo Nana is not limited to just that. She wants the right to sell the product. She intends to be the exclusive distributor herself. Lin Fan, seeing the fish take the bait, is laughing inside. She was just worried about how to monetize, but now the opportunity has come to her. Jo Nana's financial strength is probably more than just these few buildings, and she is reliable and has some connection with me. It's really the best choice. Seeing Lin Fan remaining silent, Jo Nana thought that he might not believe in her capabilities. She immediately guaranteed that she had plenty of connections, and was not worried about being unable to sell it. I only saw Jo Nana holding her phone in the most beautiful pose, which is taking a selfie. After a series of click-click sounds, she typed on the keyboard swiftly. Post on Instagram. Not long after, Jo Nana's comment prompt rang. In just a short while, the number of comments has reached 99 plus. They are all her little sisters asking for ways to become fair-skinned. Jo Nana proudly showed Lin Fan her own phone. Her impressive network also stunned Lin Fan, who exclaimed, Amazing! Back to the Violet Palace. As Dan Shinzi escorted Chi Amethyst out, he promised confidently, Rest assured, Saintess. Leave this to me. I will definitely satisfy you. Chi Amethyst nodded twice in agreement. On the way back, Chi Amethyst wondered if Danshin-Zi truly understood the artifact she wanted. After all, modern weapons were like a mystery to her. At this moment, there were two light coughs from behind. Yukiana awkwardly called out, "Amethyst Junior sister," and Lin Fan. Different from Lin Fan, Chi Amethyst merely greeted Yukiana politely. Yukiana felt puzzled as to why she was not addressed as senior sister this time. But she couldn't help but tell her that she had also obtained a top-quality void refining dan. Upon hearing this, Chi Amethyst understood that Lin Fan had also contacted her. Finding it troublesome, she couldn't help but curse someone for doing unnecessary things. She then coldly responded with a sound and elegantly turned around, leaving with indifference. Yukiana thought back to when Lin Fan candidly told her not to underestimate herself. The efforts everyone puts into becoming immortal are equally precious. She gritted her teeth and shouted to Chi Amethyst, "We are now on the same starting line." She said she would double her efforts to cultivate, and would never lose to Chi Amethyst. And Chi Amethyst just disdainfully mocked her, saying it's a joke. Yukiana has never, and will never be on the same starting line as herself at any time. After saying that, she smiled slightly and said, "It's your freedom to choose who you want to compete with. You want to be my opponent." The Yukiana stood still for a moment in a daze, but in her heart she thought that her willfulness was still quite lovely. The scene shifted back to the sect, where several disciples were gathered together discussing how the Saintess had reviewed and provided detailed feedback on everyone's papers. Not only that, but she also helped each person to review their chi circulation method and fill in any gaps. As they chatted, tears welled up in the eyes of the crowd. The Saintess, who had worked hard to compete with the saints in cultivation, still found time to guide them. The group made a determined effort to strive in their immortal cultivation. They would repay the Saintess, whom they loved dearly, with the best results. Chi Amethyst returned to her own room, pondering when Danshin-Zi could refine it. Before that, she was still worried about Lin Fan's ability to protect herself, and there were crises everywhere on Earth. Although inner power is a good starting point, it ultimately cannot escape from the physical body. But luckily she's here. The scene shifts as Lin Fan is coming out of the bank. Zhou Nana is in the car talking on the phone and effortlessly helps Lin Fan buy those medicinal herbs. It turns out that she has a close friend who is in the business of selling Chinese medicinal herbs. Although the medicine Lin Fan was looking for is indeed hard to find, since Zhou Nana offered, she also agreed for her close friend to send her a few bottles of jade skin kanji. Her close friend also readily agreed, which solved Lin Fan's problem with the ingredients. Zhou Nana asked Lin Fan again how she planned to set prices and supply goods. Lin Fan said she would like Sister Nana to help with pricing reference. In terms of supply, she plans to only provide 2 to 3 packages at a time. Zhou Nana praised, saying, "This is very clever. Jade skin kanji is completely different from other products, both effective and not easily imitated. This way, it can prevent short-term depreciation." After speaking, she saw the envelope in Lin Fan's hand and asked him, "What are you doing with that?" Lin Fan replied, "This is a partial prepayment from Sister Nana. He wants to send some money back home, but his parents don't use mobile payment. He's afraid they will worry if he sends too much money at once." Lin Fan's mature behavior made Sister Nana couldn't help but feel delighted. A hint of smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Lin Fan also transferred Chi Amethyst's money to her phone, making her activities on Earth more convenient. Next time, he can stand tall and boldly tell Chi Amethyst that he didn't touch her money. Under the deep and dark sky, Violet Palace Saintess followed Lord of the Sacred Domain to the Forbidden Land Sherfu and told her, "The path of immortal cultivation only values talent, regardless of background. However, the journey of immortal cultivation is not smooth. Sherfu hopes that she can soon rid herself of mortal desires." Because of Master's words, She took it as a life motto and developed it into her future personality. Her right path only leads to higher stages. At this moment, the voice of Shifu sounds in her ears. Chi Amethyst's face has also changed from a child's to her current appearance. Our agreement is always for my future preparation to obtain the great Tao, the path of immortal cultivation. The one who climbs higher wins, and in order to climb to the peak, both you and I must do whatever it takes. Suddenly, the figure in front of her transformed into the appearance of Lin Fan. The scene suddenly changes. Lin Fan, who was sitting on the sofa, opened his eyes to reveal Chi Amethyst's purple pupils. At this moment, Chi Amethyst returned to Lin Fan's body on Earth. She saw the message on the phone that Lin Fan intentionally left her. I didn't touch your money. I even stored the money for you in the phone. Let's keep our accounts separate. He also reminded Chi Amethyst not to mess with the thing she made, the jade-skinned Dan. Chi Amethyst hummed lightly and said, Consider him having some manners. She then called iPair to order takeout to satisfy her hunger. With the modern technology on Earth, Chi Amethyst has become more and more adept at using it. She complained about the strong smell of medicine in the house, which had completely ruined her appetite. She is ready to depart by the private car she booked through iPair. Inside the taxi, the driver uncle reminded the passengers to fasten their seat belts, but was rebuffed by Chi Amethyst's "It can't hurt me" response. The driver uncle was quite speechless and expressed silent thoughts. The driver heard that Chi Amethyst was going to the lakeside park. The driver uncle kindly reminded her that the place is not very safe. Recently, a fugitive was caught there. To everyone's surprise, Chi Amethyst straightforwardly said that she was the one who caught that fugitive. The driver uncle looked puzzled. After the taxi arrived at the destination, he reminded Chi Amethyst to take care of her belongings, as he usually reminds every passenger. The driver was so scared when he didn't even finish his sentence, and Chi Amethyst was nowhere to be seen. He thought he had picked up a ghost in such a place in the middle of the night. In the park, a popular internet celebrity is live streaming a midnight adventure by the lake in the park. She mysteriously tells the audience that this place has a heavy atmosphere, with supernatural events often happening at night. Just 2 days ago, a vicious fugitive was caught here. However, tonight, Tiny Strawberry will take everyone on an adventure together. Afterwards, she playfully acts cute and asks the audience to send gifts by showering her with love in front of the camera. But the tiny strawberry outside of the phone is hunched over, dark-faced, completely different from the cute and sweet image in the live stream room. This is clearly a man. He looks at the free gift sent by the audience. Tiny Strawberry is complaining in his heart that these stingy guys only watch without giving money. It's hard for him to be live streaming in this ghostly place in the middle of the night. However, he still looks charming in the picture. Not until the audience noticed that there was a person behind him, the person then jumped into the lake with a splash. Even Tiny Strawberry couldn't hold back this time. He exclaimed, "Holy crap!" And although he quickly tried to cover it up by saying he was super scared, he couldn't hide the fact that everyone heard his true feelings and found out he was a man. However, more of the audience clearly paid more attention to the person who had just jumped into the lake. The crowd didn't know whether that was a person or a ghost. The protagonist who caused everyone to panic and become chaotic is Chi Amethyst, who looks exactly like our Lin Fan. She was seen diving into the lake, searching for the place in her memory. There was a dried-up spiritual acupoint. Although the spiritual chi here had become so thin that ordinary people could not perceive it at all, she, who was familiar with the ways of spiritual chi flow, could easily identify it at a glance. Chi Amethyst felt puzzled that there had once been spiritual chi on Earth. However, she quickly gave up the idea of further contemplation. If she hadn't discovered this place, I'm afraid that the spiritual chi would have dissipated before long. She needs to seize the opportunity. Within the sect, she once saw a book called Aqueous Body. It is a body-tempering cultivation method that enhances oneself through the flow of water. But for the basic level of body tempering, one just needs to practice by circulating their own chi according to the natural flow of spiritual chi. Here, although the spiritual acupoint has withered, it still retains traces of the flow of spiritual chi. It happens that you can manipulate chi, and using Lin Fan's inner power is more than suitable for yourself. On a windy night at the Amethyst Mansion, the wind rustled through. The picture stone in the room made a sound. I already know about your visit to the Dan sect. Dan Shinzi's dividends are all in the storage pouch. Lin Fan looked at the storage pouch on the table with a smug look. How about this? This is much more profitable than catching fugitives, right? His nose was almost up in the sky. The Chi Amethyst in the photo suddenly pointed towards a spot. It seems to be the time when I didn't know how to absorb the spiritual power from the large bowl of spiritual fruit I ate. What did you do to it? Chi Amethyst demanded. Then won't I have to cultivate spiritual herb only on Earth? And once I have spiritual herb, won't I be able to refine the celestial Dan that Dan Xingzi taught me? Thinking about this, Lin Fan had already put aside how to explain the situation of this potted plant. No, if I can cultivate spiritual herb. Even if the earth gradually awakens spiritual power, it is not an impossible thing. A lake suddenly makes a loud splashing sound. In this way, Lin Fan's physical body has also stepped into the door of immortal cultivation. Although he lacks spiritual power, relying on this physical body alone is enough to deal with some crisis. Chi Amethyst sensed the ominous aura behind him. What she saw, however, was full of fierceness. Wu Guodong, who was eating instant noodles during the night shift, suddenly heard someone calling his name from behind. He turned around and couldn't help but feel puzzled, asking, How did you get in? I noticed that your window is not closed. With a loud bang, the coffin was opened. Chi Amethyst simply asked, Is there a bounty on this thing? Wu Guodong had not yet recovered from the previous scene. The sudden appearance of the ancient corpse stirred up the police station. While Chi Amethyst, the one who caused all this, sat in the office calmly eating a meat bun. Wu Guodong said Chi Amethyst away, with a serious look on his face. He doesn't seem like a young man of his age at all, Wu Guodong said, as he pushed Chi Amethyst out. I didn't expect Chi Amethyst, with this appearance, to say that she came to pick clothes for herself. Lin Fan from Amethyst Manor is still contemplating how to implement his spiritual herb transformation plan. Wait a while, and the water will no longer be hot. Lin Fan, who is struggling with inner conflict, is becoming increasingly red in the face. Chi Amethyst, who is dressed in women's clothing from head to toe, is admiring this outfit in front of the full-length mirror. Has been scrapped long ago. I'm here to help my sister pick up the goods. After she opened the door, a man with pink hair was standing at the doorway. Bro! The man almost called him the wrong name because he was so shocked. Lin Fan then realized that he had just cooked a pot of jade skin congee before the last beating and sold it to Sister Nana. So he asked Zhou Qiqi to wait for a moment, and he floated over to pick up the goods. Oops. Did I stumble upon some earth-shattering secret? Lin Fan, with this shocked look on his face, stood there dumbfounded, lost in thought. Let Sister Nana hold on to it first. Lin Fan, in his long skirt, unaware of his own actions, carried himself so naturally with every gesture he made. It turns out he had been wearing a cute and tender pink long skirt all along. Thinking of this, Lin Fan picked up his phone to see what messages Chi Amethyst had left for him. He then discovered a note on the table that had been pinned down by several packages from deliveries. Chi Amethyst explained in the letter that she used Lin Fan's body to cultivate the aqueous body technique. She used the inner power within Lin Fan's body as the source of power for this cultivation method. Below the letter, the mantra for the aqueous body was written. When Lin Fan fully comprehends it, he will be able to wield this power freely. Seeing the benefits that Chi Amethyst has brought to herself, he temporarily stopped quarreling with her about the cross-dressing matter. However, he thought about it. But I was seen by someone. It was someone I just met for the first time. Thinking about what happened just now, Lin Fan felt like crying but had no tears to shed. He pushed open the glass door of the backyard. And this will be the birthplace of my earth immortal cultivation, Lin Fan said confidently. Should be able to as expected. The morning sunlight streamed through Lin Fan's window. Outside, sparrows chirped on the balcony railing. Lin Fan, who was already awake, stretched lazily and got out of bed. Let me see if my ginseng plants have turned into spiritual herbs. Lin Fan walked to the courtyard and pushed open the door. The scene before him filled him with great delight. Wow, they have all grown so big. It seems to be really effective. Lin Fan then grabbed a ginseng plant and pulled it out with all his might. With a loud pop, a thick and sturdy ginseng plant was pulled out. Upon seeing this radish-like ginseng, Lin Fan fell into silence. Is this thing still ginseng? Are you sure it's not a radish? Whether it's observed from the eyes, nose, or mouth. It is just a larger version of ginseng. Lin Fan, who never gives up, tasted every ginseng and officially announced the failure of the spiritual farmland experiment. Fortunately, the production of jade skin kanji can be increased a bit. It seems that real spiritual chi is still needed. Lin Fan is trapped in the philosophical question of which came first, the chicken or the egg. If only there were immortal cultivators on Earth who could help me, that would be great. Thinking of this, Lin Fan suddenly awakened and touched the Chi Amethyst. Lin Fan, who was filled with hope again, immediately found his phone and prepared to leave a message. I should have thought to ask Chi Amethyst. This Saintess must know a lot. How come this phone won't turn on even after charging it all night? No wonder she had to leave a message on paper. The phone must be broken. Why is there a fishy smell again? Lin Fan, who smelled the odor, approached the phone. He immediately remembered that he had the same smell on him yesterday. Could it be that the phone got wet? Damn it, Chi Amethyst! As if hearing Lin Fan's roar, Chi Amethyst, who had returned to his own body, also opened his eyes. Golden leaves covered the entire wall, with tender purple strawberries hanging underneath. Chi Amethyst was stunned by the scene before his eyes. Every time he came back, he would bring her some surprises. Lin Fan always makes people worry, Chi Amethyst said helplessly. Then, with just a wave of her hand, swish, the wall full of strange strawberries disappeared. It's strange to say that even though Lin Fan is always fooling around, every time he comes back, he can clearly feel that he has become much stronger. Since that's the case, let him be. I also need to hurry up and finish what I've left unfinished. Ever since Chi Amethyst acquired the fortune teller's heavenly derivation art, her actions on Earth have become much more convenient. However, Chi Amethyst has become increasingly uncomfortable. Therefore, as soon as she returned to the immortal cultivation world, she immediately set off by boat to find the fortune teller. Fortune teller, who anticipated Chi Amethyst's visit, personally came out to meet her. Fortune teller has been staying indoors ever since she calculated Chi Amethyst's fate last time. Chi Amethyst was immediately received when she visited today. I wonder what mysterious event is happening again. After taking a sip of hot tea, Chi Amethyst went straight to the point and said, I was rude to offer you the pure yang jade pendant in exchange for your divination skills that day. After using it for some time, I realized how profound the heavenly derivation art is. No other pure yang jade pendant can compare to it. Your Majesty, the Saintess, you are too kind. The fortune teller didn't think it was a big deal. Just as he was about to make an excuse, he was interrupted. However, I, Chi Amethyst, have never owed anyone any favors. Since it is a matter of technique and art, I will repay with technique and art. I didn't expect Chi Amethyst to be so dominant. Fortune teller was also taken aback. The scene shifted to Dan Shinzi's home, where Dan Shinzi was counting the spiritual stones he had earned these days with drool hanging from his mouth, one by one. 26,829, 26,830. Perfect! Just enough to make up a whole number. Thanks to Lin Fan's short few days, Dan Shinzi earned so many spiritual stones. just as he was immersed in the beautiful time engulfed by spiritual stones. With a bang, the door was pushed open. Dan Chenzi was startled, thinking that a thief had come. Seeing that it was Fortune Teller who had come, Dan Chenzi was so startled that he hurriedly covered his spiritual stone. Fong Wu, "Senior brother, what are you trying to do?" As if afraid of them being taken away by him. Fortune Teller gasped for breath and said, "Junior brother, can you lend me your Dan furnace for a moment?" He rushed over urgently to borrow the Dan furnace. Dan Chenzi is now puzzled. What does a fortune teller like you need my Dan furnace for? I want you to use the Samadhi true fire to refine me, said the fortune teller with a serious expression. Dan Chenzi still didn't understand the meaning of this, and remained silent for a long time. What? What? Are you asking me to throw you into the Dan furnace and roast you with the Samadhi true fire? Are you crazy? Dan Chenzi looked at the fortune teller incredulously. I am serious. Even if you don't believe me, you should believe in the Saintess. It turned out that he had come this time to cultivate the Chi Amethyst technique, an art passed down to him. As long as I enter the Dan furnace and practice with the Samadhi true fire for 49 days, I will be able to make further progress, the fortune teller said earnestly. Saintess Highness? Dan Chenzi still had some doubts, so the fortune teller began to tell the story of what happened that day. Chi Amethyst explained at the time that she had learned an extraordinary pupil art through a series of fortunate events. This pupil art is called Fiery Golden Eyes. The fortune teller has never heard of this spell, and can't help but raise doubts. Fiery Golden Eyes can discern good from evil. When distinguishing between truth and falsehood and mastering the art to perfection, even if it is the miasma of heaven and earth or endless chaos, the heavenly Tao patterns cannot obstruct its vision. This pupil art may complement the fortune teller's heavenly derivation art, allowing him to see through reality at a glance and enhancing his deduction abilities, like giving wings to a tiger. After listening to Chi Amethyst's description, the fortune teller had an incredulous expression on his face. He couldn't believe that there was such a magical technique in the world. He immediately rushed to find Dan Chenzi to learn and cultivate it without delay. After knowing the reason, Dan Chenzi, though already believed in it. But as Dan Alchemist, how could he not know the danger of Samadhi true fire? He is very worried about what might happen. The fortune teller also guessed his worries. Don't worry, if anything happens, I will take full responsibility myself and won't involve you at all. Dan Chenzi was relieved to hear this. Senior brother, where are these words from? I naturally believe in your character. However, with your dangerous cultivation method, you are bound to get injured. Here, I have some healing Dan pills. I can't believe Dan Chenzi is so considerate of himself. Fortune teller's attitude towards him has also changed a lot. I used to think he only cared about spiritual stones, but I didn't expect him to be so humane. Junior brother, I will remember this friendship in my heart. However, fortune teller was touched for only a short while. Just then, Dan Chenzi reached out his hand and said, Senior brother, don't be polite. It's a total of 800 spiritual stones. It turns out I was thinking too much. Dan Chenzi is indeed as renowned as rumored. That's how fortune teller got cheated out of 800 spiritual stones. Lin Fan's home is already. Lin Fan's Chi Amethyst just returned to Earth and was about to order some takeout. Ding dong, you have a pending video message to play. Chi Amethyst picked up the phone and saw a resentful face. Chi Amethyst opened the video silently. Firstly, you are not allowed to dress in woman's clothing using my body again. Secondly, phones cannot be exposed to water. A phone that gets wet will break. I have already replaced the new phone for you and charged it to your account. Lin Fan, who was originally reprimanding about the various incidents encountered last time, suddenly changed his expression. He hesitantly said, There is one more thing I wanted to ask you. I want to refine spiritual herb on earth, but without spiritual power to nurture them, I cannot cultivate spiritual plants, thus unable to refine them. Do you have any solutions? Refining spiritual herb on earth? You must be thinking of practicing immortal cultivation on Earth. Chi Amethyst had already guessed about this matter. She was not surprised at all by what she said to Lin Fan, but practicing immortal cultivation in a world completely devoid of spiritual chi is almost impossible. However, when she thought about the cultivation she did in the lake last time, she realized that the earth might not be completely devoid of spiritual chi. If she could find some remaining spiritual chi and make use of it, she might really be able to cultivate immortality on Earth. Just thinking about it. Chi Amethyst immediately asked iPair to record a video message for her. But this new phone is clearly good. She has been calling for a long time without any response, just when she kept calling iPair. Suddenly, there was a series of knocking sounds outside the door. Lin Fan, are you home? Joe Nana anxiously knocked on the door. The phone is not reachable, and he doesn't reply to messages. Joe Nana is worried that Lin Fan might be in trouble, so she hurriedly ran over to find him. With a click, the door opened, and Sister Nana, who was leaning on the door, almost fell into Chi Amethyst's arms. Suddenly, a woman came to the door. Chi Amethyst was startled for a moment before reacting. This was Lin Fan's landlord, Joe Nana. Is there something you need? Chi Amethyst asked in confusion. Joe Nana asked in concern. What happened to your phone? I've been trying to call you, but couldn't get through. Chi Amethyst explained that her previous phone broke down, and she got a new one. Suddenly she remembered, this was a new phone. Does this phone not have iPair anymore? Now it was Chi Amethyst's turn to worry. Joe Nana asked in confusion. iPair? The voice assistant? Since you have changed your phone, of course it's not iPair anymore, Chi Amethyst replied. Let me see, isn't this assistant called Hiri? After I said Hiri, she immediately responded. Here, I don't really use voice assistants much. They're not very smart, she said as she finished and handed the phone back to Chi Amethyst. Learning that iPair was no longer available, a complex mix of emotions surged in Chi Amethyst's heart. Memories from the past flashed through her mind one by one. In fact, she had long sensed that whether it was iPair or Hiri, they were just virtual creations of Earth's technology, not true intelligent beings. It was time for her to learn to let go, as she had been unwilling to face reality all along. That batch of goods you released last time was very popular. They were sold out as soon as they were shelved. Looks like you need to improve your efficiency a bit. How about it? Do you have any new goods for me? Chi Amethyst, who had just fallen into a sad state, was suddenly interrupted by Joe Nana. She looked over and noticed a kind of wonder in the jade pendant around Joe Nana's neck. Swish! Chi Amethyst grabbed Joe Nana in one go. She stared at the jade pendant on her chest, and this sudden move made Joe Nana a little embarrassed. She blushed and looked at Lin Fan. What's wrong? Although small, but still vaguely visible. Chi Amethyst's strange actions, coupled with his ambiguous words, caused Joe Nana to misunderstand, thinking he was trying to be lewd. She pushed him away and shouted, blushing. What nonsense are you talking about? It's clearly not appropriate, okay? Chi Amethyst changed the subject, pointing to the jade pendant and asking, Where did you get this spiritual stone? Joe Nana breathed a sigh of relief when she understood what Chi Amethyst was talking about, thinking, So he was referring to the jade pendant on my chest? Please make yourself clear. Joe Nana explained that this was customized at her family's jade factory. Chi Amethyst stared intently at the jade pendant, making Joe Nana feel a little embarrassed, and she turned her head away. If you like it, I can take you to the factory to have a look, she offered. Chi Amethyst, who didn't seem embarrassed at all, answered seriously, Take me there. In the immortal cultivation world, Lin Fan is sitting cross-legged on the ground cultivating his aqueous body. After he concentrated on cultivating for a while, he made a crisp sound and lay down on the ground. He found that cultivating the aqueous body using the Chi Amethyst body was indeed more effective than when he explored it with his own body. By using this method to cultivate, he could achieve twice the result with half the effort. The next time I go back, I should be able to fully master the aqueous body, Lin Fan thought confidently. After finishing the cultivation, he suddenly didn't know what to do next. Speaking of it, this immortal cultivation world is indeed a bit dull. There are no entertainment activities here. The immortal cultivators here, apart from cultivation, just cultivate. It's really quite boring. How about I teach them how to play mahjong? Ha ha ha. In this world without mahjong, I, as a rookie, could easily beat them all. Lin Fan fantasized to himself. He did not notice a small paper man quietly sneaking in by the window. Who should I invite to play together? Including Chen Chung and Zhou Yining, the two junior protectors, we are still short of one person. How about adding Dan Chenzi? No, that guy is too shrewd. We might not be able to beat him after a couple of games. Who else? Yukiana? It seems like we have a good relationship. Let's add her too. When Lin Fan was still pondering about playing mahjong, he was suddenly called. He turned his head to look. Behind him, there was only a small paper figure standing. Just as Lin Fan was curious about what it was, the paper figure spoke. Master, I have come to see you. Master? Is this the master that Chi Amethyst mentioned before? Mo Daoist master. Just the thought of this being the big shot that even Chi Amethyst greatly respects. Lin Fan kneeled down and bowed with a swish. This person in front of us is probably not him, but a puppet he is controlling with a voice transmission technique. I heard that you have been going out frequently recently, so I assume your seclusion has been fruitful. The selection process still has some time to go, but... Master Lin Fan stuttered as he lay on the ground, desperately holding back his laughter. Lin Fan, who was listening on the side, couldn't help but want to comment. Why does the majestic Violet Palace Saint Lord speak with heavy breathing? Teacher listened, smelled, and in the past few days, you conducted an examination at Moonlight Peak, and the disciples' response was very good. This is indeed a good way to test the results of cultivation. To urge you and the other first sequence contenders in cultivation, after 30 days, you and Saint will come to Violet Palace for the examination. Upon hearing about the upcoming examination, Lin Fan's spirits lifted. The examination format is not restricted. As long as you can demonstrate the results of your cultivation, it will be sufficient. I will keep my eyes open and wait. After saying these words, the paper figure turned into dust and disappeared completely. Lin Fan was left bewildered in place. He pondered Master's meaning once again. Because of the set of test questions he came up with for cultivation method earlier, 30 days later, Chi Amethyst and Saint were going to take an exam. I rely on. Didn't I dig a pit and trap Chi Amethyst? Wait, that's not right. Lin Fan suddenly realized and counted on his fingers. He remembered that it seemed like today, 30 days later, he had an appointment online. What should I do? Chi Amethyst. Lin Fan couldn't help but shout, causing the forest to tremble. At the Saint's residence, Saint also received a message from the Master. He was puzzled by how there could suddenly be an exam. Thought it was Chi Amethyst causing trouble again. Bringing out these side tracks and digging our own graves? Compared to the anxious Lin Fan Saint, there is more disdain. On a bright and sunny day, Zhou Nana brought Chi Amethyst to her jade factory. This factory is also mine. Usually we just do some jade processing, she said, somewhat casually. It's just for fun. Most of the products are sold internally to my acquaintances. Pointing to one side, she said, these are some inventory from last week, and these are uncut raw stones. Even though these might look ordinary, sometimes stones that cost a few hundred yuan can be cut into jade worth tens of thousands. Zhou Nana introduced and explained the situation of the jade factory to Chi Amethyst as they toured around. Chi Amethyst discovered that in this small jade processing factory, she could feel the spiritual chi emanating, similar to a spiritual stone. No, a spiritual stone's spiritual chi wouldn't actively emanate. Moreover, the concentration of spiritual chi inside these stones is very poor. Even the lowest quality spiritual stone is far superior. If it were to evolve into a spiritual stone, it wouldn't emanate spiritual chi, but rather absorb it. Chi Amethyst pondered in confusion, continuing on. She reached out her hand and really felt the spiritual chi on these raw stones. So it turns out that these are just degraded spiritual stones, pseudo-spiritual stones, which confirms the idea that spiritual chi exists on Earth. The spiritual chi is hidden inside these stones. As long as I can get more of these stones, not only can I body temper, but I can truly engage in immortal cultivation. After sensing the spiritual chi, Chi Amethyst was excited and thought, seeing how focused Chi Amethyst Jo-Nana was on studying stones, mentioned, "Today Mr. Liu is coming to sign a contract. He might also bring a batch of good quality rough stones. He is a stone gambling teacher, you know." Stone gambling? Seeing that Chi Amethyst seemed interested in stone gambling, Jo-Nana continued to explain. Yes, in our eyes, stone gambling is just ordinary stones. But people with keen eyesight can tell at a glance whether it is a piece of jadeite or a waste stone. Unfortunately, I don't understand these things well. I can't tell at all. I can't help much either. Do you know where these stones are transported from? Chi Amethyst wanted to follow Jo-Nana's words to find out the origin of the stones, so she could get more fake spiritual stones. It seems to be from Yunnan? I'm not too sure about the specifics. Ask Mr. Liu when he comes. Chi Amethyst pondered for a while, and had figured out how to get those stones. Before long, a Mercedes-Benz slowly drove in. A middle-aged man in overalls with suspenders and a stubbly beard got out of the car. Jo-Nana introduced. This is the renowned Jade Appraisal Master, Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu, were the rough stones you brought this time also selected by you? Of course, this batch is very good. At the very least, I can produce around 10 pieces. That's great. With you in charge, I can rest assured. Jo-Nana and Mr. Liu started chatting, delighted to know that this batch of goods was very good. By the way, I brought a friend today to visit. He is very interested in stone gambling and wants to learn from you. Lin Fan, don't you have a question to ask? Jo-Nana, who was introducing Mr. Liu to someone, turned to look. Chi Amethyst was studying the pile of stones that had just been delivered. Jo-Nana thought Chi Amethyst would have many questions upon seeing Mr. Liu and was just about to introduce them. But to her surprise, Chi Amethyst kept looking at the pile of stones, very puzzled. Here are 3 pieces of jade with average quality, Lin Fan said. This gave Jo-Nana a big shock, afraid of upsetting Mr. Liu. She quickly ran over and explained. Lin Fan, you shouldn't speak randomly. These are the goods personally selected by Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu, he is a newcomer and doesn't understand anything. Please don't mind his careless words. Mr. Liu doesn't take Chi Amethyst seriously either and contemptuously says, Yellow-haired kid, quite an attitude, huh? Chi Amethyst added another blow, saying, Engaging in this kind of probability stone gambling might lead to bankruptcy. This angered Mr. Liu. My renowned name, the Jade Appraisal Master, has never suffered such insults before, so I immediately shouted, You, kid, are so fond of talking big. How about we gamble once to see? Chi Amethyst is not someone to be trifled with, once he decides to gamble. Soon, the stones and tools were ready. These tools are very complete. Let's each choose 10 pieces of rough stones for inspection on the spot. Whoever produces more jade stones wins. Mr. Liu pointed to the pile of stones. Before he could finish speaking, Chi Amethyst interrupted. No need. There are only 3 pieces of jade in here, Chi Amethyst said plainly. Mr. Liu felt embarrassed for a moment. He had never encountered someone who loved to disrupt like this before. Ahem, to be fair, you go first. He coughed awkwardly twice. He saw that Chi Amethyst was a novice and let him choose first. Chi Amethyst went confidently to the pile of stones, looking around seriously. Mr. Liu couldn't help feeling secretly delighted. He thought to himself, This kid really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. But with his confidence, maybe he does have some skills. But even if he can really identify the raw stones, It's no use. Originally, Mr. Lu had a clear idea of the shipment rate of this batch of goods. Among these 128 pieces of raw stones, only 10 of them are truly top-quality raw stones. By mixing them with these inferior raw stones, if it weren't for my experience in selecting these 10 raw stones, these over 100 raw stones wouldn't be able to yield even one valuable piece. This old fox has long planned to ask Sho Nana for additional budget to purchase goods, in order to line his own pockets and profit more. After Chi Amethyst touched around for a while, she unhesitatingly pointed to a stone and said, "This one." Upon seeing Chi Amethyst's actions, he felt secretly pleased. She's really just a fool. If identifying jade within a raw stone could be done just by touching it, people in our industry wouldn't have to work anymore. Mr. Lu immediately spotted a mark on the stone chosen by Chi Amethyst indicating it was of low quality. He thought, unless she's a fairy, extracting good jade from low-quality stones is even harder than winning the lottery jackpot. Little did he know, Chi Amethyst was indeed a fairy. It's my turn then. Mr. Lu was seen walking up with a flashlight, knocking and inspecting the stone, even smelling it with his nose. He found it. The piece with the marking. Everyone watched as Mr. Lu smoothly performed a series of actions. He finally chose the stone in front of him. Kid, it's your turn. After making a selection, he looked at Chi Amethyst with a smug expression. It seems that Mr. Lu does have some skills. Although the spiritual chi in the piece he chose is slightly inferior to the one in the piece I chose, it is indeed a pseudo-spiritual stone. I chose this piece, but he pointed to a stone without even thinking about it. Mr. Lu frowned, realizing that the stone he pointed to this time was actually the one he had marked. This kid is really lucky. But even if he is lucky enough to pick a piece, there is only a 20% chance of it bearing fruit. As long as I pick the remaining selected rough stones, he will never beat me. While Mr. Lu was analyzing the situation, Chi Amethyst spoke again. That's enough. Including the one you just picked, 3 fake spiritual stones have been selected. The rest are just ordinary rocks. Watching Chi Amethyst pretend to be profound. Mr. Lu thought he was bluffing and pretending to be an expert, jokingly saying, "Joke! You say there isn't, so there isn't? According to the rules, we each select 10 pieces. Since you stopped early, then I won't be polite. Lin Fan, are you sure? What if?" Sho Nana looked worriedly at Chi Amethyst. "Believe me," Chi Amethyst, who looks like Lin Fan, said these handsome words. A blush appeared on Sho Nana's face. She shyly lowered her head. "This Sho Nana is so strange." Chi Amethyst stared at Sho Nana with a puzzled expression, unaware that she had already occupied her heart. Mr. Lu continues to hold the flashlight, continuing his careful observation. Before long, Mr. Lu had selected 7 stones with markings on them. When he found the last marked stone, Mr. Lu, who thought he had the game in the bag, sneered. "Arrogant little brat. Trying to show off in front of a beauty without realizing whose home court this is." Seeing that they had all made their selections, the staff approached and asked how they would like the stones cut. "These 8 original stones look very good. Let's start by cutting the rough edges," said Mr. Lu. "What about you?" asked the Chi Amethyst staff member, who had a pensive expression on his face. Who would have thought that Chi Amethyst would directly use his finger to draw on the stones? This move really surprised everyone. "Just cut along the lines that I drew." Is this too risky?" Sho Nana asked worriedly. "It's okay. Just cut according to this and then polish it." Seeing him so determined, the staff couldn't persuade him any further. If he wants to cut, then cut. Mr. Lu, afraid that he might change his mind, looked at the several people hesitating and eagerly said, "Anyway, they are just ordinary stones, so just cut them. Quickly." The buzzing of the electric saw slowly cut into the Chi Amethyst stone. The crowd anxiously waited in the noisy surroundings. With a click, the green light in the stone crack gradually became dazzling. Once fully split open, a quiet yet bright green light shone before everyone. shipped out. Impressive, little brother. And the cutting line is accurate to the slightest detail. Cut out without any waste material, exclaimed the staff. They were amazed that Chi Amethyst actually had such incredible skills. You're amazing, bro. How did you figure it out? Teach me. Chi Amethyst became the center of attention, and everyone looked at her in disbelief. This is impossible. That low-quality rough stone actually shipped out. And that kid just touched it and found it. Even if the stone can be found, how could the cutting lines be so precise? This is absolutely impossible. Mr. Liu, who cannot accept reality, doesn't believe that Chi Amethyst can be so powerful. He can only deceive himself by saying that Chi Amethyst must have had some dog luck, while urging the staff to work faster at the same time. The staff on Chi Amethyst's side have completely become her fans, humbly asking her how to cut the remaining stones. Oh, I got it! Upon hearing movement from the jade on his side, Mr. Liu excitedly ran over, urging them to continue grinding. It must be a big piece. At this moment, Chi Amethyst ran ghostly behind them and poured a bucket of cold water. No need, just follow the current outline, an inch inward is all it needs. Mr. Liu, who was being doubted, angrily shouted, Don't listen to his nonsense, just follow my little advice. At this moment, Zhou Nana ran over to smooth things over, saying, Sorry, Mr. Liu, he doesn't understand the rules, please don't mind. She reminded Chi Amethyst that it is impolite to interfere with others like this. Next time, you can't do this. Oh! Another one! Kid, you are amazing! It's exactly as you said. The staff who successfully produced goods twice in a row were extremely excited. The workers were increasingly admiring Chi Amethyst. Mr. Liu tightened his fist upon hearing these words. If it was said that he had a stroke of luck once, it would be somewhat understandable, but this time. At this time, Mr. Liu's stone is also worn out. Old Liu, who was completely defeated, had to believe in Chi Amethyst's ability because what he said was exactly the same. He was so disappointed that he instructed the staff to cut the remaining pieces without wasting any more time. After all the stones were cut, it turned out that what was left was just ordinary waste. The outcome of the game had already been determined. Poor Mr. Liu. Out of the 8 stones, only 1 had value, while both of Lin Fan's stones were high quality. In terms of quality and quantity, he was thoroughly defeated. Chi Amethyst, who had cheated, calmly announced the results of the competition. Although she didn't want to admit it, the fact remained. Mr. Liu accepted his defeat with a heavy heart. I accept my loss. These gemstones are now yours. However, Chi Amethyst astonishingly declared that she didn't need those gemstones, which startled everyone. Mr. Liu frowned, thinking that Chi Amethyst was trying to humiliate him. He angrily said, Don't push me too far. I am willing to admit defeat. Whatever you want, just do it. What do you mean by this? But when Chi Amethyst's tone changed, it became clear that she did not mean that. She just wanted to make a different request. She wanted to pick 10 uncut gemstones from this warehouse again. Are you saying you want to reselect these uncut gemstones? Yes. It turns out that she found out at the moment when the gemstone was cut open, the spiritual chi inside was rapidly dissipating. For her, the spiritual chi inside was the most important, while the gemstone became secondary. So those that have already been cut open are actually useless to her. If there are enough fake spiritual stones, she can not only cultivate Lin Fan's spiritual farmland, but even use Lin Fan's body to embark on the path of immortal cultivation on Earth. After seeing off Mr. Liu and the staff, Zhou Nana said to Chi Amethyst, Lin Fan, you were deliberately giving face to Mr. Liu just now. Chi Amethyst looked puzzled and didn't understand the meaning. It turns out that Zhou Nana had long known about Mr. Liu's little tricks. Although he is a bit greedy for money, he has contributed a lot to this factory. Just now, you deliberately chose the raw stones instead of the jade, which was a perfect way to deal with him, Zhou Nana said gratefully. Otherwise, with the value of the 2 jades you opened, you could easily buy over 100 raw stones. Chi Amethyst was dumbfounded upon hearing this. His expression was completely out of control. She stood there blankly, silently complaining in her heart. Why didn't you say so earlier? If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have changed. Next, Zhou Nana handed out a business card. This is a contact person from Yunnan provided by Mr. Liu. If you want to get more raw stones in Yunnan, we can go together. Zhou Nana invited Chi Amethyst. Ring, ring, ring. Lin Fan's phone rang. It turned out to be a phone call from Wu Guodong. On the high-speed train rumbling along, Wu Guodong looked at Lin Fan's phone number, lost in memories. One day ago, he went to the headquarters to inquire about the autopsy results. Before the leader sitting in front of him could even begin to exchange pleasantries, Wu Guodong anxiously asked, Lao Wang, have the test results of that corpse come out? From the leader's mouth, he learned that although the results were out, but it's clear that he didn't want to say. Wu Guodong doesn't want to guess riddles with him, and directly asked if it's Haifeng. But the leader kept beating around the bush, unwilling to say it directly, and warned him that this was not a question he should ask. Faced with the leader's attitude, Wu Guodong shouted excitedly, Tell me, is it Wang Haifeng? With a loud clatter, the leader smashed the water cup onto the table. Wu Guodong, you have been dismissed. The matter of Haifeng is confidential. You should understand the rules. Wu Guodong clenched his fists and calmly apologized. I'm sorry, Director Wang. I got carried away. The two looked at each other in silence. It's been 5 years. Although you were transferred from the front line due to disciplinary action, it was also to protect you from your impulsive nature. Don't mention Haifeng anymore. Otherwise, it will be dealt with according to the rules. He is facing the director's orders. Wu Guodong can no longer say anything. Originally, it has been 5 years since this matter occurred. Wu Guodong, who was undercover at the time, violated orders due to his impulsive nature. Then Wang Haifeng took over the mission in his place. He looked at the keepsake of his friend in his hand, and thought about the pendant he recovered from the drowned body lifted by Chi Amethyst last time. That pendant indeed belonged to Haifeng. Why did it appear around the neck of the body? Ever since he saw that corpse. Wu Guodong's originally uneasy feeling in his heart gradually magnified. Who is really giving orders to Haifeng, and what has happened to him? He must figure it out. With a loud bang, Wu Guodong felt despair at his own helplessness. Can't anyone tell him whether Haifeng is safe or not? Suddenly, Wu Guodong remembered that there was someone who could help him. Lin Fan had mentioned before that he could tell fortunes. Besides, that kid Lin Fan always brought him surprises. Maybe he can really help me. With the mentality of trying every possible means, he dialed Lin Fan's phone number. After confirming that the other party was indeed Lin Fan, he made his request. Last time you told me you could tell fortunes. This time, I would like to ask for your help in making a personal calculation. A person named Wang Haifeng. I want to know if he is still alive. Just tell me his date and time of birth, that's enough. After Wu Guodong finished speaking, Chi Amethyst hung up the phone. She asked Wu Guodong to wait patiently for an hour. An hour later, Wu Guodong had just gotten off the train station when Chi Amethyst called. The person you want to ask about died 2 years ago. This news struck Wu Guodong like a thunderbolt out of a clear sky. The 2-year period matches the time of death of that body, and he did not mention the time of death of the body to Lin Fan. This made him believe that Lin Fan really knows how to do fortune-telling. Tears streamed down his face. Although he had suspected it earlier, he couldn't accept it after the results came out. Now he returned to where he started as an undercover agent Yunnan. He had settled this grudge. With the sound of doo-doo ringing, Wu Guodong had already hung up the phone. With the spiritual chi provided by these pseudo-spiritual stones, Chi Amethyst's heavenly derivation art has become more and more handy. However, the current amount of spiritual chi is far from enough for cultivation. But the time for the body swap is about to come. She has written down all the arrangements in the message. After completing all this, she closed her eyes and prepared to go back. After a while, Jo Nana walked into Lin Fan's house with her luggage. She saw Lin Fan sitting on the sofa with his eyes closed and thought something had happened to him. She ran over and patted him. "Lin Fan, are you all right?" At this moment, Lin Fan had just returned to his own body. He saw Jo Nana rushing in with a suitcase and thought she was moving in with him. He was curious, and Jo Nana then spoke up. "I feel like you have never been far away and don't know anything about it. Traveling afar?" Lin Fan looked at her with a puzzled expression. Jo Nana excitedly said to him, "Didn't you say before that we were going to Yunnan together? I even specially found the travel itinerary I used before for you. There are so many delicious foods in Yunnan. This time, we will eat our way through Yunnan." Hearing about eating, Lin Fan instantly guessed what was going on. It couldn't be Chi Amethyst. Does that guy really want to go to Yunnan just to eat? Speaking of it, there wasn't any food in her room in the immortal cultivation world. She should be practicing Bigu. How come she suddenly awakened her foodie nature as soon as she got here? And seeing her eat so much, isn't she afraid of gaining weight? Wait a moment. Lin Fan suddenly realized that Chi Amethyst has always been eating with his own body. No matter how fat he gets, it's his own fault for getting fat. Chi Amethyst, you scoundrel. Seeing Lin Fan muttering to himself weirdly again, Jo Nana said she's already used to it. "Oh, by the way, I've also arranged the accommodation, which is in a star-rated hotel under my family's name." This invisible display of wealth dealt Lin Fan a critical hit. "Hotel under your family name? Sister Nana, just how rich are you?" After putting down the luggage, Jo Nana was about to leave. Before leaving, she even reminded Lin Fan not to forget to accompany her sister to go shopping for clothes in a few days. Okay. These few short days have already brought so many surprises. A confused Lin Fan could only take out his phone, thinking, "You better give me a reasonable explanation, Chi Amethyst." As the scene changed, Chi Amethyst from the immortal cultivation world also received 2 messages because of Lin Fan. The bad news is that Master will conduct a surprise test in a while. The good news is that Chi Amethyst doesn't have to take the test. But the testing period coincides with the body swap. What kind of good news is this? Thinking of this, Chi Amethyst's face turned pale, and hands trembled as she held onto the table. Saint Lord's cultivation level is unfathomable. Although he has always treated her as his own daughter, if anything unusual were to happen with him, she would definitely lose the qualification to compete for the first sequence. Now all Lin Fan can do is cram like crazy at the last minute. He has to master the use of his own power before the exam. Not asking him to overpower Saint, just hoping he won't fall behind. Based on previous experiences of crossing over, the cultivation level does not change with the soul. What she needs to do now is to help him comprehend the theory of his cultivation method so that he can use it skillfully. Thinking about these, Chi Amethyst immediately went to the bookshelf. She picked up a book on cultivation methods that she often read during her seclusion. Then she opened the communication stone and earnestly told Lin Fan to thoroughly understand all these books before the exam. If he could finish reading these books, then he wouldn't need to worry about the exam. Next, teacher Chi Amethyst began to take pictures for Lin Fan to create his customized exclusive personal training course. During Chi Amethyst's teaching, Dan Shinzi and fortune teller finally made progress. They arrived at Dan refining house and stared at the blazing furnace, breaking out in a cold sweat. Although the two had communicated before, when it really came to this point, Dan Shinzi was still a bit hesitant. "Senior brother Fong, have you really decided to stew yourself in this iron pot on the Dan refining furnace for 49 days? Stop talking nonsense. Just finish refining already." Feeling the scorching high temperature of the Samadhi true fire in the furnace, the heart of the fortune teller also rose a slight sense of fear. "Senior brother, don't worry. I will help you arrange everything arrange everything for the future. That. Junior brother, if I can't hold on anymore, I'll ask you to ignite the furnace. You must open it for me immediately, senior brother. Rest assured, it's junior brother, remember. You must open it immediately. If it really goes in, fortune teller starts to procrastinate. Dan Shinzi was speechless. Senior brother, should we go in after all? No choice. Since we're already here, we can only go for it. After saying that, fortune teller plunged headfirst into the furnace. With a loud bang, flame shot out in all directions. Dan Shinzi stood outside the furnace, silently chanting, Heavenly Tao bless me, Heavenly Tao bless me. Is what I'm doing considered an evil Tao technique? By refining myself, am I becoming an arrogant genius like this? The Samadhi true fire inside the furnace burns more vigorously as it continues to burn. Fong Wu's hair and clothes are being gradually devoured by the flames one by one. The blazing Samadhi true fire burns more and more fiercely. The piercing pain spread throughout his body. This agonizing flame did not make Fong Wu retreat. He did not ask Dan Shinzi to open the Dan furnace, but quickly took out a few healing Dan pills and swallowed them. Immediately, the burning sensation on his body diminished significantly, and his injuries were frantically repaired. At this moment, his conviction to become stronger burns in his heart just like this Samadhi true fire. He realized that he came to refine the fiery golden eyes. Fong Wu opened his eyes. He faced the hottest fire in the world. I came here to refine the fiery golden eyes. How can I refine with my eyes closed? Lin Fan, who has already read the message on Earth, has learned about the fake spiritual stone. Early in the morning, he got up and ran to the small spiritual farmland in the backyard, holding up a shovel and digging away. Unexpectedly, the fake spiritual stone he had been looking for turned out to be an original stone with jade. After absorbing the spiritual chi inside, he could also cut it open to make a big profit. It's really killing two birds with one stone. I have to say that Chi Amethyst, apart from some pitfalls, does have a knack for making money. So, in order to complete the first step of the spiritual farmland plan, he will have to go to Yunnan to get more fake spiritual stones. With Chi Amethyst as the great master, there's nothing much to worry about. Lin Fan just needs to wait for the spiritual stones to arrive, and then he can focus on farming. When he can cultivate immortality in the future, I, Lin Fan, will become the first person of Earth's immortal cultivation. The next day, Lin Fan, who was called out to go shopping on the bustling streets, looked dejected. He thought to himself, why does the future first person of Earth's immortal cultivation like me have to buy so many things? After a day of shopping, Joe Nana was still excited and suggested, let's go buy some outdoor supplies over there. Lin Fan, who was unwillingly pulled along as a laborer, could only drag 2 full shopping bags and continue walking with the energetic young lady. The glasses are nice. This set of clothes is pretty good too. Oh, the ones over there look beautiful too. Come on, let's go check them out. In the morning, Lin Fan, who headed out as soon as the sun rose, has been accompanying the young lady for half the day. Just as they reached a chair by the roadside, he now just wants to sit down and take a rest. So he proposed to sit here for a while. He let the young lady wander around by herself. Oh my, accompanying the young lady for a stroll outside is more tiring than farming at home. He had just sat down for a short while when he heard fighting sounds coming from a distance. You little punk, with a skinny body like a monkey, you also want to act like a hero like others. Get out of here before my sandbag-sized fist is raised! Lin Fan turned his head and looked over. Isn't that Wang Dong? Wang Dong stood in front of the girl and weakly said, how can you harass decent women like this in broad daylight? These few hooligans were immediately unhappy. A few days ago, they were stopped from harassing women by a hero, and now another one has come. Hong Mao raised his fist and attacked directly. Wow, Wang Dong was so scared that he closed his eyes and covered his head, just hoping they wouldn't hit his face. With a smack, it went down. Wang Dong found that he seemed to have not been hurt. He opened his eyes and found that someone had blocked the punch for him. The thug looked at Lin Fan, who was carrying shopping bags in his hands, suddenly reborn. The thugs were also taken aback. The red-haired thug was still processing who was in front of him, and feeling very unhappy. Just as he was about to throw another punch, he was stopped by his companion standing next to him. It was only at this moment that he realized this was the guy who defeated our brother a few days ago, right? They realized that the troublemaker had arrived, so they scattered and ran away. Seeing such a powerful person, Wang Dong confirmed before daring to believe that it was indeed his good buddy Lin Fan. "What's going on? Did those people bully your girlfriend?" Lin Fan inquired curiously. Wang Dong explained that he happened to see a beautiful woman being harassed while shopping and wanted to play the hero and rescue her. Unfortunately, he didn't attract much attention and almost got beaten up. Fortunately, Lin Fan appeared just in time. The girl who was rescued saw Lin Fan and quickly turned her head away, afraid of being recognized. It turns out that the so-called beautiful woman was actually Zhou Nana's brother, Zhou Qiqi, in disguise. The thing is, ever since Zhou Qiqi saw Lin Fan in that elegant and beautiful women's clothing last time, his heart has been throbbing non-stop, unable to calm down. Feelings of envy arise from the bottom of his heart. When he got home and looked at himself in the mirror, the peculiar attributes awakened like that. He found a free spirit like Lin Fan, not defined by society, not constrained by gender. Who would have thought that on his first day out, he ran into an acquaintance and noticed something unusual about Zhou Qiqi's cross-dressing. He thought she was frightened, so he quickly came up to ask, "Beautiful lady, are you okay?" To avoid being recognized, Zhou Qiqi could only respond with the retroflex consonants she had just learned a few days ago. No problem." Looking at the woman in front of him, Lin Fan had a feeling that he had seen her somewhere before. Just as he was about to take a closer look, suddenly someone called out to him. He turned his head and saw that it was Zhou Nana rushing over after finishing shopping. Thinking he had escaped a disaster, Zhou Qiqi breathed a sigh of relief. But in the blink of an eye, "Oh my goodness! How come my older sister is here too? I'm doomed!" If he were recognized, he would have to move to a different planet to live. Terrified, Zhou Qiqi had no choice but to turn away and desperately hide. Hearing commotion nearby, Zhou Nana, who was shopping, thought Lin Fan was getting into another fight with someone. In response, Lin Fan could only helplessly explain, "It wasn't me, it was my classmate Wang Dong who ran into some trouble. But everything is fine now." Wang Dong, who had just tried to show off but failed, shamelessly boasted, "Everything is fine now. I just taught a few rascals a lesson. As soon as Lin Fan came to help, they ran away." At that moment, Wang Dong suddenly realized, "How come this sister looks so much like the sister I helped?" He then pointed at Zhou Qiqi and asked, "Is she your twin sister? You look so alike." Zhou Qiqi, who had her back facing everyone, quickly denied it. Seeing that the situation was about to become uncontrollable, if he stayed here any longer, his reputation would be at risk. He quickly employed the 36 strategy from Sun Tzu's Art of War, and made a swift escape. Wang Dong quickly followed suit, afraid that this beauty might get into trouble again. After being mentioned by Wang Dong, Lin Fan found the situation even more familiar. But unfortunately, before he could recall more, he was once again dragged away by the young lady to go shopping. The young lady, who was solely focused on shopping, quickly pushed this little episode to the back of her mind. She dragged Lin Fan to buy a neck pillow for using on the plane. Speaking of airplanes, Lin Fan speculated that Chi Amethyst shouldn't cause any trouble then. No, this matter must be written down in the message. 3 days passed quickly. As soon as Lin Fan, who was near Chi Amethyst, opened his eyes, he saw a mountain of books in front of him. Chi Amethyst explained, "If you can understand these books during this time, he will be able to unleash the true power of my body. Then, there won't be any flaws in the exam. Don't worry, I will explain it to you one-on-one. Don't slack off." Lin Fan feels bitter in his heart. After finishing planting fields and doing tough labor over there, he crossed over hoping to relax a bit. Didn't expect he still has to study. But thinking that he has an exam in half a month, no matter how tough and tired he is, he could only pick up his books and listen to the lecture seriously. Lin Fan, who had finished the online classes on Violet Palace, sighed and said, "Although these cultivation methods are obscure, but after reading them, he really could feel the flow of spiritual power. Chi Amethyst didn't deceive me." Just as Lin Fan clenched his hand, the true essence in his hand continued to condense. After having the theoretical foundation, the next step is practical training. Lin Fan immediately asked the two maids to take him to practice new moves. The maids led Lin Fan to the back hill, where he stood in front of the artificial mountain, lost in contemplation as he touched it. The maids were very puzzled behind him. Saintess has never brought us along when practicing before. Why did she suddenly call us this time? Previously, Lady Saintess asked us to take the exam, and now she's asking us to observe the recruitment process. Presumably, she is giving us some guidance. I didn't expect Lady Saintess herself to be incredibly busy, yet she still thinks of us in everything. The young maids were moved to tears, so they immediately mustered all their energy and observed attentively. Lin Fan on the side is still searching for his feelings. He is trying hard to recall the knowledge he learned in class. He invokes true essence, gathers it in the palm, and manipulates spiritual power to rotate and compress. A Rasengan is quickly formed by him. This action shocked the nearby maidservant. How could the Saintess use such a weak spell? Another maid retorted, "You only see the first level. The Saintess is clearly on the 5th level." The Saintess, who is about to break through the void refining stage, can produce such subtle changes with such a weak spiritual power. She truly deserves to be the Saintess. Thinking of this, they admire the Saintess even more. At this moment, Lin Fan thought he had created a very powerful Rasengan. In his heart, he just wanted to test its power immediately. He only gave it a gentle push. With a loud bang, the artificial mountain over 10 meters high in front of him exploded and cracked open. Wow, it's really powerful. Seeing the force of Rasengan, Lin Fan thought to himself, "Ha ha ha, with such a powerful move like Master Rasengan, I'm sure exams and the like will be a piece of cake, right?" Just like when Lin Fan finishes his act and immediately turns around looking for approval, how powerful is this move? The young maid immediately praised the Saintess, saying, "Madam, you are so amazing. You may seem ordinary, but you have such power." Upon hearing this, Lin Fan's ego has already soared to the sky. He hadn't finished reveling in the praise when he heard them say, "I didn't expect that such a weak spiritual power could be utilized so skillfully. In order to guide us, they deliberately demonstrated with such a small amount of true essence, right?" The more Lin Fan listened, the more uneasy he felt. Looking at the shattered mountain behind him, he began to feel fearful of the world's combat power. The young maids became more and more excited as they spoke. It turned out that, after watching Lin Fan's Rasengan just now, they realized a new technique. They were seen soaring into the sky. Compressing the ordinary sword formation, rotating and accelerating it, they unleashed the new move they had realized, 100 Spirit Unity Sword. This powerful combined technique dealt a double blow to Lin Fan's eyes and soul. He collapsed onto the floor. Screw it all. In such a short time, he has already pushed himself to the limit to cast a spell with that kind of power. He never thought he was capable of such a strong spell. It turns out that it doesn't even qualify as a fair rating for the Chi Amethyst. Lin Fan, feeling frustrated, once again recognized the power of the Chi Amethyst. "You let me handle these books myself to deal with you, Master. You seem to think too highly of me." Looking at the books scattered on the ground, Lin Fan suddenly discovered something. Lin Fan, who had just lain down, found that he was already starting to decay. The scattered books on the ground seem unrelated at first, but when the words and the titles are connected, they actually form a secret code. So Chi Amethyst means to find yourself. Dan Shinzi. accidentally found that after Lin Fan, the clippers added starch, rushed here with a swoosh. I knew it. Even for a genius like me, it's too exaggerated to master the ability of spirit transformation pinnacle in 30 days. Lin Fan thought he had learned to hide secret codes from watching too much Chi Amethyst, so he mistakenly went to find Danshinzi. He thought to himself, she must have left me some killer moves at Danshinzi's place. Danshinzi is still roasting people alive over here. Fong Wu, who has been burned for several days, is finally about to give in. He banged on the furnace door and shouted, Junior brother, please let me out quickly. Danshinzi, who was dozing off, was startled. He didn't dare to delay, and quickly opened the door, afraid that 1 second late could mean the person inside would be gone. I'm going. He looked at the fortune teller, who had been roasted dry. Danshinzi couldn't help but worry that this person might have been dead for a long time. He poked him gently twice, and found that he still reacted. Danshinzi breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he's not dead. As long as he's not dead, there's still hope.